I woke up to a storm of curses. I was only away on a business trip for half a month, and you spent the whole half month living in an internet cafe? A middle-aged man grabbed me by the collar and yanked me straight up from my seat. You're 18 years old. Other than playing games all day, what else do you even know how to do? Look at the state of you. How did I, Su Qingjun, end up with such a useless son? The more he cursed, the angrier he became. After unleashing a barrage of insults at me, he dragged me out of the internet cafe and shoved me directly into the back seat of a Mercedes. The car door slammed shut with a bang, and my head exploded along with it. Two sets of memories collided violently in my mind, making my vision go black. It took me a full 10 minutes before I finally understood my current situation. I had transmigrated. This was a parallel world in the 1990s. My name was also Su Ming, and I was 18 this year. The good news, my father, Su Qingjun, was a big boss with assets worth over 100 million. The bad news, the original owner of this body was a full-blown internet-addicted teenager. Skipping school, staying up all night, smoking, drinking. At his most outrageous, he could stay in an internet cafe for several days and nights straight. As for right now, my biological father, who had just returned from a business trip, had caught me red-handed and even threatened to break my legs. Speak. Su Qingjun suddenly turned back and glared at me. Aren't you usually pretty good at talking back? Why are you mute today? I glanced at him and found myself unable to refute him, because everything he said was indeed true. His family was this rich, yet the original owner only knew how to hole up in internet cafes and play games. Even being a spoiled rich second-generation wastrel who only ate, drank, and had fun would have been better than ending up in this sorry state. I lowered my head and looked at my own arm. Thin and pale, without the slightest bit of muscle. Chest tightness, dizziness, aching waist. The dark circles under my eyes were so severe that it looked as if I hadn't slept for days. Anyone who didn't know better might think I had touched something I shouldn't have. Why aren't you talking? Su Qingjun's face was cold. I leaned against the back seat, my voice weak. You're right to scold me. What? He froze. I said, you're right to scold me. The car instantly fell silent. The driver secretly glanced at me through the rearview mirror, his expression as if he had seen a ghost. Su Qingjun also held it in for a long while before finally letting out a cold snort. Don't try that act with me. You think admitting your mistake means this matter is over? I'm telling you, it won't be that easy this time. He originally wanted to keep scolding me, but since I neither talked back nor resisted, his punch felt as if it had landed in cotton. The more he held it in, the uglier his expression became. Half an hour later, the car drove into a detached villa. The driver went to park the car. I had just followed Su Qingjun through the door when a richly dressed middle-aged woman hurried over. She didn't look at Su Qingjun. Instead, she grabbed my hand directly and checked me up and down. Xiaoming, are you okay? Did your dad hit you? This was my mother, Zhang Fangfang. She was also the original owner's biggest backer. The fact that the original owner had been able to sprint down the road of internet addiction so freely, at least half the credit belonged to her. I hesitated for a moment, but still called out, Mom, I'm fine. Zhang Fangfang immediately let out a sigh of relief. As long as you're fine. Why does your complexion look so bad? Did you skip meals again? I'll have the kitchen stew some soup for you. Her eyes were full of heartache. On Su Qingjun's side, however, he exploded on the spot. Stew soup. He's already turned into this useless mess, and you're still spoiling him? A doting mother raises a ruined son. The reason he looks like this today is because you spoiled him rotten. Zhang Fangfang suddenly turned around. My fault. Who was it back then who insisted on starting a business? Who was it who said the company couldn't do without me and told me not to come home to take care of the child? I said nannies were unreliable, and you said money could solve everything. Now that our son wasn't raised properly, you're pushing all the responsibility onto me? Su Qingjun, do you even have a conscience? The more she spoke, the more wronged she felt. Her tears came just like that. Su Qingjun, who had been aggressive a moment earlier, instantly panicked. No, I only said a couple of things. Why are you crying? I didn't actually hit him. Zhang Fangfang wiped her tears and glared at him. If you dare lay a finger on him, I'll divorce you. Fine, fine, fine. I won't touch him. Is that enough? Su Qingjun hurriedly coaxed her. Standing to the side, the corner of my mouth couldn't help twitching. Good grief. Just now, he was threatening to break my legs. Now, the moment Mom mentioned divorce, he instantly behaved himself. Still, the relationship between this couple was indeed pretty good. Their family was already this wealthy, yet the two of them could still be like this in middle age. That was quite rare. I was just about to speak up to ease the atmosphere and, by the way, tell them I wouldn't go to internet cafes anymore. But Su Qingjun spoke first. Wife, I've already thought it through on my way back this time. Since we can't control this brat, then let someone else control him. Zhang Fangfang's expression changed. What do you mean? You want to give my son away? Listen to me first. Su Qingjun quickly explained. I have an old comrade in arms. His son used to be even more of a bastard than this brat. He fought outside, and when he came home, he even dared to raise his hand against his own father. Later, my old comrade hardened his heart and sent him off to serve as a conscript for 2 years. He was discharged not long ago. When he came back, he looked completely spirited. He became sensible and even learned to be filial to his parents. At this point, he pointed at me. Isn't this brat just badly addicted to the internet? We can't control him, but can the army not control him? Send him in to train for 2 years, and all his bad habits can be corrected. My heart sank. Join the army? What kind of joke was that? I had come here to be a rich second-generation heir, not to suffer hardship. However, Zhang Fangfang actually began to consider it seriously. The army does indeed train people, and Xiaoming's body is too weak. He really should exercise. Exactly. Su Qingjun clapped his hands. Then it's settled. I immediately spoke. I don't agree. Both of them looked at me at the same time. I sat down on the sofa, my attitude very direct. I'm not going to join the army. From now on, I won't go to internet cafes, and I won't play games either. If you want to cut off the internet at home, cut it off. If you want to stop my living expenses, stop them. In any case, I'm not going to the army. Su Qingjun sneered. How many times have you said things like that? Which time didn't you pat your chest and promise? As soon as I go on a business trip, you turn around and dive right back into an internet cafe. And now you still want to fool me? In your dreams. He pointed outside the door, his attitude even tougher than mine. This time, you're going whether you want to or not. If you dare run, I'll tie you up and send you there. Don't doubt my connections in the capital. Sending you into the army really isn't difficult for me. I turned to look at Zhang Fangfang. Mom. She avoided my gaze and advised me in a low voice. Xiaoming, your dad is doing this for your own good. My heart immediately chilled by half. It was over. They had united on the same front. With Su Qingjun's temper, once he made a decision, not even 10 oxen could pull him back. Running away was even more unrealistic. All of the original owner's friends were within the Su family circle. As long as I dared run, I'd probably be caught and brought back the same day. Could it be that I really had to go to the army and suffer for 2 years? Just as I was rapidly thinking of a countermeasure, a cold mechanical voice suddenly sounded in my mind. Detected the host's parents' strong desire for their son to become a soldier. Strongest Soldier King system activated. System binding successful. Mission issued. Host, please complete enlistment registration within 1 month, pass all reviews, and be officially approved for enlistment. Mission reward, physique strengthened tenfold, system space activated, all system functions unlocked. Mission failure, system binding terminated, host physique weakened by 1-fold. My whole body stiffened. A system? It was here, but the name of this system made my vision go dark. Strongest Soldier King system? No. I was a rich second-generation heir with family assets exceeding 100 million, and you want me to become a Soldier King? I had already made plans. First, I would loaf around for a few years, eating and waiting for death, then use my knowledge of the future to make some investments. Maybe one day, I could even multiply my father's assets several times over and become the richest man. But now, the system had kicked my life straight into the army. I immediately looked at the mission reward. Physique strengthened tenfold. This reward was indeed powerful enough. With my current frail body that could be blown over by a gust of wind, after being strengthened tenfold, I should at least become a fierce man. There was also the system space and other functions. Although I temporarily didn't know what use they had, since it dared to call itself the strongest Soldier King system, it couldn't be too bad. But what truly made it impossible for me to refuse was the mission penalty. Physique weakened by one-fold. Feeling the dull pain in my chest, I glanced at my arms, which were as thin as bamboo poles. Could this body become any weaker? The original owner had stayed up all year round. Going several days and nights without sleep was common. He had eaten plenty of junk food, and he had never stopped smoking or drinking. His entire body had long since been hollowed out. If I went for a physical examination now, the doctor would probably take one look at my face and first ask me to get a blood test. If I became twice as weak, even if I didn't die on the spot, I'd probably become half-crippled. No matter how much money I had, what was the use if my body was ruined? This damned system clearly hadn't given me a choice. You brat. Su Qingjuan's furious shout pulled me back to reality. What crooked scheme are you thinking about now? I'm warning you. There's no discussion about joining the army. You'll register tomorrow. I took a deep breath. Since I couldn't avoid it, then I had to maximize my benefits. Fine. I'll go. The living room instantly fell silent. Su Qingjun narrowed his eyes. What did you say? I said, I can go join the army. I stared at him. But I have one condition. You still dare negotiate conditions with me? Su Qingjun rolled up his sleeves and was about to come over. Zhang Fangfang grabbed him. Our son already agreed to enlist. What's wrong with him making one condition? What could he even ask for? She leaned closer to Su Qingjun and whispered a few words. Su Qingjuan's expression eased a little. Fine. As long as you obediently serve as a soldier for 2 years and your performance is decent, I'll buy you a 2-courtyard Sihiyuan in the capital. I'll install the best computers inside and set up the best internet connection for you. After you're discharged, you can play with that bunch of bad friends however you want. I was stunned when I heard that. Very quickly, I found the reason in the original owner's memories. The original owner had always wanted a Sihiyuan. Not for collection, and certainly not for investment. He simply wanted to fill it with top-tier computers, then call his bad friends over to game all night, while showing off at the same time. His prodigality was extremely pure. But I wasn't him. You can buy the Sihiyuan. I nodded. It'll appreciate in value in the future. But that's not what I want. Su Qingjuan's face darkened again. You brat, don't push your luck. Zhang Fangfang quickly stood between us. Xiaoming, then what exactly do you want? I didn't beat around the bush. After I'm discharged, give me a portion of the company's business. Or give me 5 million and let me start my own business. Both of them froze at the same time. I continued. If I can't do it well, or if my startup fails, then I'll accept my fate. From then on, whatever you tell me to do, I'll do. If it really doesn't work, I'll get married early and have more children. If you think this account of mine is already ruined, then you can raise a grandson from scratch. One of them will make something of himself eventually. Zhang Fangfang opened her mouth, but couldn't say anything for a long time. Su Qingjun also stared fixedly at me. That gaze didn't look like he was looking at his son. It was more as if he was confirming whether I had been possessed by something. Xiaoming, Zhang Fangfang asked tentatively, are you serious? Of course. I spread my hands. You're sending me to the army because you want me to become successful, right? Then after I'm trained, you have to give me a chance to prove myself. You can't expect me to come back and continue loafing around at home, can you? Good. Su Qingjun suddenly slapped the table. I agree to that condition. As long as you perform well in the army, when you're discharged, I'll give you 5 million. As long as you don't spend it recklessly, even if you lose it all, I won't interfere. I immediately held out my hand. Deal. Su Qingjun slapped my hand away. Don't try that with me. You'll register tomorrow. Wait. I shook my head directly. Tomorrow won't work. His gaze instantly became dangerous. What? You just agreed, and now you want to go back on it. It's not that I'm going back on it. I pointed at my face, then raised my arm. Look at my body right now. Dark circles, weak steps, arms thinner than some girls. If I go register tomorrow, do you think they'll let me pass? Maybe the moment I enter, they'll drag me away for a blood test first. Su Qingjun frowned and looked me over from head to toe. Zhang Fangfang's face also showed a little worry. Of course they knew I hadn't touched any banned substances. But my current appearance was indeed too misleading. Then what do you want to do? Su Qingjun asked. I had already thought it through. First, find a reliable old Chinese medicine doctor to help me regulate my body. For the next few days, I'll quit smoking and drinking, sleep early and wake early, and do some exercise. When my condition improves a little, I'll register. At this point, I stared at him. Also, weren't you a veteran? You've been in the capital for so many years. You should know a few old comrades, right? My physical condition is poor. I may not be able to pass the normal review. Help me pull some strings. No matter what, within 1 month, I must successfully enlist. This time, it wasn't just them who felt something was off. Even I myself felt it was absurd. A few minutes ago, I had still been desperately refusing. Now, I was actually urging them to use connections, afraid that I wouldn't be able to get into the army. But there was no other way. If the mission failed, I might truly lose my life. I had to become a soldier. Whoever stopped me was trying to kill me. Zhang Fangfang looked at me and asked softly, Xiaoming, have you really figured it out? I have. There wasn't the slightest hesitation in my answer. Since I'm going, I'll do it properly. Either I don't do it, or I do it to the best. Su Qingjun stared at me for a few seconds, then finally nodded. Fine. Your mother used to know an old Chinese medicine doctor who was very skilled at regulating the body. Tomorrow, she'll take you over. As for the army side, I'll contact a few old comrades. As long as there aren't any major problems with your physical examination, I guarantee I'll send you in. I finally let out a sigh of relief. Then it settled. At this moment, sleepiness suddenly surged up. This body had already endured for far too long. Right now, it had been relying entirely on one breath to hold on. Now that the matter was settled, that breath dissipated, and I could barely even stand. I'm going upstairs to sleep first. Don't call me for dinner. I turned and left. Zhang Fangfang called from behind me. At least drink some soup before sleeping. I'm not drinking. I'll talk after I wake up. I quickly went upstairs, pushed open the bedroom door, and collapsed onto the bed. Almost the instant my head touched the pillow, I lost consciousness. Downstairs, Su Changjun looked at my back, his brows tightly furrowed. Husband. Zhang Fangfang lowered her voice. Don't you think Xiaoming has changed? Changed where? The way he talks. And he even took the initiative to ask to start a business. In the past, whenever you mentioned the company, he found it annoying. Su Changjun snorted coldly. He hasn't changed. He's scared. This brat knows I'm serious this time and understands he can't avoid it. As for starting a business, it's nothing more than him setting his sights on that 5 million. Zhang Fangfang was still uneasy. But just now, he even took the initiative to ask you to pull strings because he was afraid he couldn't enter the army. He's heard me tell him plenty of stories about the army since he was little. Su Chengjun waved his hand. He knows training is tough and is worried his body won't be able to hold up, so he wants to regulate it in advance. All right, don't think too much. Tomorrow, contact that old Chinese medicine doctor. This brat's body is too weak. He must be nourished first. Otherwise, once he enters the army, the squad leader won't go easy on him just because he's my son. Zhang Fangfang's expression changed slightly. Will the training be too harsh? Nonsense. That's the army, not the internet cafe where he wastes his days. Once he enters, everyone has to train according to requirements. At this point, Su Changjun looked up toward the second floor. This time, I must correct all those rotten habits of his. If he can be trained properly, then he can still be saved. Zhang Fangfang pressed. What if he can't be trained properly? Su Qingjun was silent for 2 seconds, and his tone suddenly softened. Then we'll let him get married early and have more kids. If this account is really ruined, then we can only raise a SMUF account from scratch. Zhang Fangfang raised her hand and hit him. Su Qingjun covered his head and dodged. The strict father aura he had just now instantly vanished without a trace. I slept for a full 20 hours. When I woke up, the old Chinese medicine doctor was already sitting beside the bed, 3 fingers pressed against my wrist, his expression growing more and more serious. The way he looked at me made my scalp tingle. Doctor, can I still be saved? The old doctor glanced at me. Young man, don't say such unlucky things. He withdrew his hand, then stared at me for a few more seconds. Years of staying up late, chaotic diet, depleted qi and blood. Your body isn't just ordinarily weak. My heart sank. Can it be adjusted back? You're still young. If you drink the medicine properly and keep exercising, of course you can recover. I had just breathed a sigh of relief when he added another sentence. But if you continue ruining yourself like this, in the future, that aspect may be affected too. I instantly sat up straight. Which aspect? The old doctor looked at me meaningfully. I understood. My whole body went numb. No matter how much money I had, if that aspect didn't work, what meaning would there be in living? Retire early and sit by the river fishing every day? What was more, if the system mission failed, it would continue weakening my physique. This wasn't forcing me to die. It was trying to make me live worse than death. I directly grabbed the old doctor's hand. Prescribe me the bitterest medicine. He froze. Young man, medicine isn't better just because it's bitter. Then prescribe the most effective one. From that day onward, I completely cut off electronic products. I didn't touch my phone. I didn't turn on the computer. As for games, I quit them outright. In the morning, I jogged slowly, then came back to practice Bajuanjin. At night, after eating medicated meals, I practiced again. The Chinese medicine was so bitter that my tongue went numb, but I still downed it in one go. Zhang Fangfang held the empty medicine bowl and looked at me as if she were looking at a monster. Son, you really finished it? I wiped my mouth. I could drink another bowl. Don't. Medicine can't be drunk recklessly. She quickly took the bowl away, then turned and shouted toward the living room. Old Su, come and see. Our son has really changed. Su Qingjun stood at the door, watching me hold a horse stance, and didn't speak for a long time. In the past, I would say I'd change, then turn around and play games all night. Now, I trained every morning and night without fail. After a few days, the way they looked at me changed. That night, the two of them called me into the living room. Su Qingjun cleared his throat. Son, your mom and I discussed it. What is it? You don't need to join the army anymore. The medicine I had just drunk almost sprayed out of my mouth. No way. Both of them froze at the same time. I put down the medicine bowl and stood up directly. I must join the army. Zhang Fangfang was dumbfounded. Before, when we wanted you to go, you refused no matter what. Now that we don't want you to go, why are you anxious instead? Nonsense. Could I not be anxious? The system mission was right there. Successfully enlist within 1 month, and I'd be rewarded with physique strengthening. If the mission failed, my physique would continue to weaken. This concerned the happiness of the rest of my life. But I couldn't say that. Zhang Fangfang held on to me, her tone softening. You're willing to improve yourself, and your dad and I are already very happy. As long as you stay at home, he'll still give you startup funds. She glanced at Su Qingjun. We'll buy you the Sihiyuan too. Right. Su Qingjun nodded. If you stay at home, I'll personally teach you how to do business. In the future, the company and family assets will all be yours sooner or later. Startup funds. A Sihiyuan. Assets worth hundreds of millions. If it were the former Su Ming, he probably would have nodded long ago. But now, could these things strengthen my body? Could they preserve my dignity as a man? No. I looked at them with a solemn expression. Dad, Mom, since I promised to enlist, I can't go back on my word. I was ignorant before. Now I've thought it through. I suddenly slapped my chest. Join the army and regret it for 2 years. Don't join and regret it for a lifetime. When one person joins the army, the whole family is honored. I'm determined to become a soldier. The living room instantly fell silent. Su Qingjun stared at me, his eyes gradually lighting up. He himself used to be a soldier. Those words of mine had clearly struck him. Well said. He slapped my shoulder, almost knocking me flat. That's my son, Su Qingjun's son. We'll register tomorrow. I steadied myself and nodded heavily. Okay. Recruitment registration had already reached its final stage. If we delayed a few more days, I might not even have the chance to register. I had to catch this step. That afternoon, Su Qingjun directly dragged me into the car. Dad, where are we going? To buy a house. What house? A Sihiyuan. I froze for a moment. You're really buying one? Su Qingjun waved his hand grandly. You're willing to go to the army and suffer hardship. Could I, as your father, still deceive you? A few hours later, a Sihiyuan covering 500 square meters was directly registered under my name. Several million. He took it out just like that. Holding the documents, I felt for the first time what it truly meant to be a rich second-generation heir. Unfortunately, the house couldn't save my physique. The mission still had to be completed. Early the next morning, Su Qingjun personally drove me to the Armed Forces Department. On the way, he hesitated several times. When we were almost there, he finally couldn't help speaking. Son, actually, if you want to exercise your body, you don't necessarily have to go to the army. What do you mean? I can find you a training camp. Instructors, equipment, training subjects. Everything will follow Army standards. He held the steering wheel, his voice lowering somewhat. You can train and still not have to leave home. I shook my head directly. No. You have to go? I have to go. No room for discussion? No room for discussion. I stared at the Armed Forces Department ahead. This time, I can only succeed. I cannot fail. Su Qingjun fell silent. A few seconds later, he sighed. Fine. Since you've decided, Dad supports you. When we arrived at the Armed Forces Department, he went to park, and I walked into the recruitment hall alone. As soon as I entered, I was startled by the crowd before me. They were all young men who had come to register. Some were excited, some were nervous, and some were being pushed forward by their parents. At 1.83 meters tall, I was very conspicuous standing in the crowd. Although my body was still on the thin side, these past few days I had slept enough and eaten well, so the dark circles under my eyes had already faded. On top of that, Zhang Fangfang had forced me into branded clothes before I went out, so quite a few people turned back to look at me. I couldn't be bothered with them and directly lined up. When it was my turn, the staff member handed me the registration form and looked me up and down. Young man, your height is good, and you look spirited too. Thank you. You're just a little thin. He tapped the table. If you train and bulk up in the future, maybe you could join the honor guard. Several people around immediately looked at me, but I didn't feel the slightest bit excited. Honor guard? I didn't even dare think about that right now. First, I had to enlist. You flatter me. I took the registration form. As long as I can pass, I'll go anywhere. The staff member smiled. Quite modest. Perform well. I think you shouldn't have much of a problem. I didn't respond. I lowered my head and filled out the form. Whether there was a big problem or not wasn't up to him. The system mission only recognized the final result. After filling in my personal information, I immediately went for the preliminary examination. Height, weight, vision, hearing, one item after another. The process wasn't complicated, and the speed was very fast. After all the data was registered, I returned to the window with 2 forms. The staff member took the forms. All right, go home and wait for the notice. I didn't leave. How long until the result comes out? 3 to 5 days. Are you sure? He looked up at me. That eager to become a soldier? Eager. My answer was straightforward. Extremely eager. He couldn't help laughing. 3 to 5 days is only for the preliminary review. After that, there's still the physical examination and political review. I quickly calculated the time in my heart. It should be enough. There was still sufficient time before the system mission ended. As long as nothing unexpected happened. I let out a sigh of relief. Thank you. When I walked out of the hall, Su Qingjun was standing beside the car, smoking one cigarette after another. When he saw me, he immediately stubbed out the cigarette and walked over. How did it go? I finished registering. And then, go home and wait for the preliminary review notice. He pressed, how long do we have to wait? 3 to 5 days. Su Qingjun visibly breathed a sigh of relief. Since the registration was already done, he no longer struggled with it. He wrapped an arm around my shoulders. Come on, Dad will take you to celebrate. Lobster, abalone, king crab, order whatever you want. I pushed his hand away. I'm not eating. What? I want to go home and eat medicated food. He froze. You've already successfully registered. Why are you still eating medicated food? I pointed at my still thin body. Dad, I only registered. I haven't enlisted yet. After the preliminary review, there's still the official physical examination. If this body of mine doesn't pass, then everything before this will have been for nothing. The smile on Su Qingjun's face instantly vanished. He had obviously also remembered the recruitment process. These days, wanting to be a soldier didn't mean you could definitely become one. You still had to pass layer after layer of screening with the best selected. He immediately took out his phone. I'll call your mom and tell her to prepare medicated food. And have a few doctors take a look at you. Or should we go to the hospital now and do a full body checkup first? No need. I pressed down his phone. The doctor already said it. I'm just weak. I'll recover by slowly conditioning my body. I opened the car door. Let's go home. I still need to train. For the next few days, I didn't go anywhere. Drinking medicine, running, Bajuanjin, eating medicated meals, sleeping, repeating the cycle. When my old pack of fair-weather friends realized they couldn't contact me, they came straight to my house. When they rushed into the courtyard, I was holding a horse stance. The few of them stood to the side, their eyeballs almost popping out. Brother Ming, what are you doing? Training. Didn't you hate exercise the most? I like it now. One of them reached out and touched my forehead. You don't have a fever either. I slapped his hand away. If you have something to say, say it. Let's go online. The brothers are waiting for you. Not going. Then dinner tonight. Not going. There's a new place that opened. I heard it's especially lively. Not interested. The few of them exchanged glances, all dumbfounded. No, Brother Ming, are you really going to join the army? Really? What are you after? Novelty. You're leaving family assets alone instead of inheriting them and running off to the army to suffer. Is there something wrong with your brain? Before he could finish the rest of his sentence, I had already raised my eyes and stared at him. Finish what you were saying. That person was startled by my gaze and quickly shut his mouth. I withdrew my gaze and continued holding the horse stance. I'm tired of games. I just want to try the army. Don't come looking for me so much in the future. I'm busy. They still wanted to persuade me, but I directly started driving them away. Wouldn't leave? Then I'd have the family's security guards escort them out. The few of them left while cursing and grumbling. Of course, they didn't dare really curse out loud and could only use exaggerated expressions to show their dissatisfaction. I didn't care at all. If the mission wasn't completed, I would be the one suffering. Could they bear the physique weakening on my behalf? No. Then shut up. 5 days later, the notice from the Armed Forces Department finally arrived. Preliminary review passed. 2 days later, I was to go to the designated hospital for the enlistment physical examination. At the same time, the political review officially began as well. As for family background, I wasn't worried in the slightest. Su Qingjun himself was a veteran, and he was also a well-known local entrepreneur and major taxpayer. There were no messy connections in the family. As long as I could pass the physical examination, enlistment would basically be certain. When Zhang Fangfang saw the notice, she was even happier than I was. That night, she had the chef prepare an entire table of medicated dishes. Eat more. This replenishes qi and blood. This nourishes the body. And this one, try it too. Looking at the bowl piled up like a small mountain, the corner of my mouth twitched. Mom, I'm going for a physical examination, not hibernation. What do you know? She added another piece of meat to my bowl. You have to eat more to grow strong. Su Qingjun was even more direct. He took out a stack of money and slapped it in front of me. 10,000. Take it and spend it. I looked at the stack of money and froze slightly. This was the 1990s. 10,000 yuan was definitely no small amount. In the past, to prevent me from going bad, Su Qingjun only gave me a few hundred yuan each time, at most 1,000. Now it was different. With one move, he took out 10,000. Why so generous all of a sudden? My son is going to become a soldier. As his father, I'm happy. He lifted his chin. Buy whatever you need. Don't mistreat yourself. I put the money away. It would be stupid not to take it. 2 days later, Su Qingjun had urgent matters at the company and couldn't accompany me, so he arranged for the driver to take me to the hospital. The hospital had opened a dedicated enlistment physical examination channel. When I arrived, there were already quite a few people lined up ahead of me. The preliminary review had eliminated a batch of people, so it wasn't as crowded here as it had been in the registration hall. But my heart still gradually tightened. Surgery, internal medicine, ophthalmology, ENT, dentistry. Basically, everything that could be checked had to be checked. I wasn't worried about the political review. What truly determined whether I could enlist was this physical examination. As long as there was one seriously disqualifying item, the mission might fail. My physique would continue to weaken. That aspect might also be affected. Thinking of this, I subconsciously straightened my body. I had to pass. No one could stop me. Just as I was staring at the line ahead, someone suddenly patted my shoulder. Bro. I immediately turned around. A young man with dark skin and a sturdy build stood behind me. His clothing was very plain, and on his feet was a pair of somewhat worn-out Jiefeng shoes. But in his hand, he was holding an ID card. This yours? I lowered my head and looked. My heart suddenly jumped. The photo was mine. The name was mine too. I quickly felt my pocket. Empty. It really is mine. I grabbed the ID card. Brother, thank you. This was no small matter. The physical examination would require identity verification soon. If my ID card had been lost, whether I could even take the exam today would be a problem. If it delayed me and caused me to miss the mission deadline, I wouldn't even have anywhere to cry. The young man smiled honestly. No problem. I picked it up at the entrance just now. I figured it must have been dropped by someone here for the physical. I was about to ask people one by one, but when I looked up, I saw you ahead. I gripped the ID card tightly and confirmed it again. I really have to thank you. If it weren't for you, I'd be in huge trouble. He waved his hand. We're all here to become soldiers. Maybe we'll be comrades in the future. What's there to be polite about? I sized him up a few times. You're here for the physical too? Yeah. From the city? No. I came from the countryside. He scratched his head. I was doing odd jobs in the city before. A while ago, I saw the recruitment notice and tried signing up. Didn't expect I'd actually pass the preliminary review. Why do you want to become a soldier? His answer was especially straightforward. Food and lodging are covered, and there's an allowance. I froze for a moment. Afraid I hadn't understood, he seriously added. I want to send the allowance back home. Serve as a soldier for a few years, and when I'm discharged, I can save some money too. Then I'll go back to the village, build a house, and marry a wife. I stared at him. Good grief. His motivation was much more practical than my slogans. I was doing it for the system reward and physique strengthening. He was doing it to earn money for his family and, by the way, marry a wife. Different goals, but both were very direct. What's your name? Wang Xuebing. He smiled a little sheepishly. My family all calls me Aniu. Su Ming. I held out my hand. I'll remember what happened just now. Wang Xuebing quickly shook my hand. You really don't have to. It was just picking up an ID card. But I looked at him seriously. To you, it was something you did in passing. To me, it might have decided whether or not I could enlist. I owe you this favor. Wang Xuebing froze for a moment, then nodded hard. All right. Then when we both get into the army, I'll treat you to a meal. I laughed. You picked up my ID card, and you're still going to treat me? Then you treat me? That's more like it. We both laughed at the same time. The line continued moving forward. Through our conversation, I also learned about Wang Xuebing's situation. His family was poor, and he had several younger siblings. Because they had no money, he had dropped out of school very early and gone to the city to work. But he had no education, and he was too honest. His wages had been docked several times, and there were even bosses who directly delayed payment and refused to pay him. He clearly had a body full of strength, yet he couldn't earn much money. Later, a fellow villager told him that serving as a soldier included food and lodging, came with an allowance, and offered prospects after discharge. He didn't hesitate and turned around to sign up. If I become a soldier, my family will have honor too. Wang Xuebing looked ahead and clenched his fists. In the future, those people in the village won't dare bully my parents casually anymore. His voice wasn't loud, but that one sentence was more powerful than any grand speech. I patted his shoulder. Then we both have to pass. Wang Xuebing nodded heavily. We must pass. Just then, the nurse in front called out. Next group, prepare for physical examination. Wang Xuebing and I raised our heads at the same time. It was finally our turn. I handed over my ID card, took a deep breath, and strode into the examination area. Success or failure would depend on today. 2 hours later, Wang Xuebing and I finished the physical examination and walked out of the hospital with our reports. I patted his shoulder. Xuebing, are you going straight back to your hometown next? Yeah. He nodded. I have to go back and tell my dad first. There's still the political review and home visit afterward, right? I'll just wait for news at home. I glanced at the roadside. I'll give you a ride. I have a car. No need, big brother. I'll go to the station myself. It's not like I'm driving. My family has a driver. Really, no need. He refused very decisively. I didn't try to persuade him anymore. I directly took out a few hundred yuan and stuffed it into his hand. Take it. Wang Xuebing looked as if he had been scalded and immediately pulled his hand back. Big brother, what are you doing? If it weren't for you today, I wouldn't have gotten my ID card back. Take this little bit of money with you and buy some food for your younger siblings when you go home. No. He forced the money back into my hand, so anxious that his face turned red. I just happened to see it. Anyone else would have picked it up and returned it to you too. But you helped me. Helping is helping. What does taking money make it? Wang Xuebing pressed down firmly on my hand and refused to take it no matter what. My dad taught me since I was little that I can't casually take other people's things. If I want money, I have to earn it with my own hands. If I really took this money back, he'd definitely beat me. I stared at him for 2 seconds, then put the money away. To be honest, I admired him even more. A few hundred yuan wasn't much to me, but to a family like Wang Shuebing's, it was definitely no small amount. He clearly needed it, yet he refused to take it. People like that were rare. Fine, I won't make things difficult for you. I pointed at the slip of paper in his pocket. But you'd better remember my number. If you really run into difficulties in the future, call me. As long as I can help, I won't refuse. Wang Shuebing nodded heavily. I'll remember, big brother. At the hospital entrance, we parted ways. He went to the station, and I got into the driver's car. Next came waiting. A few days later, the political review passed. Immediately afterward, the home visit investigation ended. After all procedures were completed, the notice I had waited a long time for finally arrived at home. The enlistment notice. As soon as I picked it up, a voice suddenly rang out in my mind. Ding! Congratulations, host, for completing the mission and successfully obtaining the enlistment notice. Reward issued. Physique strengthened tenfold. System space activated. System functions fully unlocked. Attribute panel unlocked. System shop opened. Lottery function activated. The instant the notification ended, a surge of heat poured directly into my body. Boom! My bones, muscles, and blood seemed to be ignited at the same time. My arms tightened. My legs grew heavy. My heart beat with increasing force. The weakness left behind from staying up late and gaming in the past was swept away completely. In its place was a power I could barely suppress. I lowered my head and looked at my hands. My 5 fingers clenched. My knuckles cracked. So this is tenfold strengthening? I punched into the air. Whoosh! The wind from my fist brushed past my ear. At that moment, I even felt that if there really were an ox in front of me, I could knock it down on the spot. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. In the past, I was an internet-addicted teenager who found even walking a few steps tiring. Now, my whole body was filled with strength. But after the excitement passed, I also felt a bit pained. The system's strengthening was calculated based on my original physical foundation, but my previous body had been far too weak. If I had originally been an athlete, then after being strengthened tenfold, the effect would probably have been even more terrifying. However, a person shouldn't be too greedy. Being able to go directly from a sickly, useless shut-in into what I was now already meant I had profited greatly. I immediately spoke in my mind. System, open the attribute panel. The next second, a virtual panel appeared before my eyes. Host, Su Ming. Position, none. Military rank, none. Strength, 12. Speed, 12. Reaction, 12. Skills, none. Military merit points, 0. Note 1. Military merit points can be obtained by completing system missions, earning merits, position promotion, military rank promotion, and other methods. Note 2. The average three-dimensional attributes of ordinary adults are 6. 10 is the limit of ordinary adults. The host's attributes can be increased without limit. I stared at those 12s, and the corners of my mouth uncontrollably lifted. The average ordinary person was only 6. The limit was 10. And I, strength, speed, and reaction had all reached 12. I had directly broken through the limits of the human body. And this is only the beginning. I clenched my fists, my heartbeat growing faster and faster. With my current physical quality, as long as I underwent military training for a period of time and mastered some practical combat skills, my combat strength definitely wouldn't be poor. Soldier King? In the past, I wouldn't even have dared think about it. But now, I really wanted to try. Being a rich second-generation heir was indeed comfortable. But becoming the strongest soldier was a completely different feeling. Of course, I hadn't even entered the gates of the army yet. Where I would be assigned and what branch I would be in, I still didn't know. Becoming a soldier king was still far off. I continued checking the system functions. First was the system space. The space wasn't large, only 1 cubic meter. But as long as something could fit inside, anything could be placed in it. Moreover, aside from me, no one could discover it. This was safer than any safe. Documents, cash, important items, I could stuff them all inside. I could even prepare some cigarettes and alcohol in advance. Those things couldn't be openly brought into the army, but no one could detect the system space. Interesting. I immediately turned my attention to the system shop. With a thought, a page similar to a shopping app popped up. Daily necessities, medical supplies, firearms knowledge, combat skills, advanced technology. There were even blueprints for fighter jet engines. My breathing halted. If I exchanged this thing, wouldn't I take off straight away? But after I saw the price clearly, the blood that had just heated up instantly cooled by half. All items required military merit points. Ordinary skills easily cost several thousand points. More advanced technologies started from tens of thousands, even over 100,000. As for those truly heaven-defying things, their prices were even more frightening. And my military merit points? 0. I stared at that glaring number and couldn't help muttering a complaint. System, you do have a lot of things. But I can't afford them. What's the damn use? The system gave no response. But I already understood. Military merit points were the true core. If I wanted military merit points, I had to complete missions. I had to earn merits. I had to get promoted. To put it plainly, I had to enter the army, and I had to desperately climb upward, as expected of the strongest Soldier King system. Without being a soldier, nothing worked. Other than the shop, military merit points could also be used for the lottery. 1,000 points per draw. Rewards were random. With good luck, I might hit the jackpot in one shot. With bad luck, I might also draw a pile of useless things. Compared with the shop prices that easily reached tens or hundreds of thousands, 1,000 military merit points were much cheaper. I rubbed my chin, my eyes shining. My luck had always been pretty good. After I had military merit points in the future, I could absolutely try a few times. If I happened to draw something good, I'd profit massively. But the problem came back around. I had no military merit points. Military merit points. I stared at the enlistment notice in my hand, wishing I could enter the army the very next day. What I lack right now is military merit points. The news that I had received my enlistment notice quickly spread throughout the household. My dad, Su Qingjun, happily slapped the table. Hold a banquet. My mom, Zhang Fongfong, however, held my hand, her face full of worry. You're really going? I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Mom, the notice has already arrived. Can I still not go? The army is so tough. Since you were little, when have you ever suffered that kind of hardship? Precisely because I haven't, I should go even more. My dad immediately chimed in. Right? A man should go to the army and train. After saying that, he lowered his voice again. But don't train too hard either. Your health matters. Looking at the two of them, each more conflicted than the other, I didn't expose them. That day, my dad directly booked an upscale restaurant and set up dozens of tables. In name, it was to celebrate my enlistment. In reality, it was also to take this opportunity to tell everyone. The Su family's son was no longer the useless waste who only knew how to play games. After I finished 2 years of service and returned, the Su family's business would gradually be handed over to me. Once this signal was released, the atmosphere at the banquet immediately changed. People who previously couldn't be bothered with me now took the initiative to come over with glasses of wine. Young Master Su, young and promising. The army trains people the best. When you come back, you'll definitely be extraordinary. If my boy were even half as ambitious as you, I'd wake up laughing from my dreams. Some praised me. Some flattered me. Some even brought their daughters directly in front of me. Su Ming, this is my daughter. You young people should chat more. The girl smiled at me. Hello. I nodded. Hello. And then there was nothing else. The other party waited for a long time, but didn't receive any follow-up from me. Her smile nearly froze. If it had been before, I might really have enjoyed the feeling of being surrounded like a star. But now, there were only 3 things in my mind. Enlist. Earn merits. Gain military merit points. Money. Any single piece of advanced technology in the system shop could create astonishing wealth. Status. As long as I kept growing stronger and kept getting promoted, status would naturally come. As for women, I glanced at the girl still waiting for me to start a conversation and decisively found an excuse. Sorry, I have something to do. I turned and left. Women would only affect the speed at which I earned military merit points. Before the banquet was even over, I left early. My parents stood behind me, looking at my back for a long time without speaking. My mom spoke first. Old Su, has our son changed? My dad was silent for a few seconds. He has. In the past, whenever he saw a pretty girl, his legs could barely move. What do you mean by that? I'm praising him. Is that how you praise your son? The two of them started arguing behind me. I heard it, but I didn't look back, because my path had already changed. 1 week later, I took my luggage and prepared to report to the Armed Forces Department. My dad looked at the small bag by my feet and frowned. You're only bringing this much. It's enough. The army has everything. How can that be? With the air of someone experienced, he turned around and was about to go get things. Cigarettes. You have to bring a few cartons. Alcohol too. Pack a few bottles. You'll be unfamiliar with everything when you first enter. It's very important to build good relationships with your comrades and squad leader. I quickly stopped him. Dad, it's not your era anymore. Cigarettes and alcohol can't be brought openly. It violates regulations. He froze. You can't bring them? No. Then what will you do after you enter? I looked helpless. I'm going to be a soldier, not attend drinking parties. My dad coughed dryly. Social connections are necessary everywhere. He took out his phone. How about this? I'll transfer another 100,000 to your card. After entering the army, buy whatever you want. If you don't have enough money, tell me. When my mom heard that, she immediately objected. How is 100,000 enough? Give him 1 million. My eyelid twitched. Mom, I'm going to serve in the military, not go on vacation. The army covers food and clothing. I won't be able to use that much money. If you really transfer 1 million to me, I won't even know where to spend it. In the end, I spent a long time talking before finally persuading them to stop. However, there was one thing I didn't tell them. I had long since bought quite a lot of cigarettes, alcohol, and daily necessities and stuffed them all into the system space. The things inside were enough for me to use for a long time. Of course, unless necessary, I wouldn't take them out. My mom held on to me and reminded me over and over again. When you get to the army, you must not quarrel with your comrades. If your superiors scold you a little, just listen. Don't talk back. No matter how tiring the training is, you still have to pay attention to your health. Call home whenever you have time. If you can't get used to the food there, tell mom. I didn't interrupt her. If it had been before, I might have found her annoying long ago. But this time, I listened the whole way through. Because I knew that once I entered the army, I probably wouldn't be able to come back for a short time. When it was about time, I picked up my luggage. Dad, Mom, I'm leaving. My mom's eyes immediately reddened. My dad patted my shoulder. He wanted to say something tough, but in the end, he only forced out one sentence. Don't embarrass me. I smiled. Don't worry. When I come back, you'll be proud of me. I didn't let them send me off. The Armed Forces Department had rules. Reporting had to be done by oneself. I took a taxi and arrived at the Armed Forces Department alone. After my identity was confirmed, I quickly received my military uniform, military shoes, bedding, and pillow. The one responsible for distributing supplies was a middle-aged non-commissioned officer. He handed the items to me, his expression serious. Recruit, hold on to them well. From today onward, these things will accompany you for a long time, until you're discharged. I took the supplies and stood at attention, saluting. Yes, squad leader. The middle-aged non-commissioned officer froze for a moment and stared at me a couple of times. Then he smiled. Not bad posture. Your salute also looks decent. Someone in your family served before? I relaxed a little. My dad is a veteran. Before I came, he taught me quite a few things. No wonder. He nodded, then raised his hand and pointed toward the training ground. All right, go assemble. Don't keep people waiting. Yes. I picked up the supplies and turned to run. No dawdling. No unnecessary questions. Behind me, the middle-aged non-commissioned officer muttered in a low voice. This kid has some bearing. I jogged all the way to the training ground. By then, quite a few recruits were already standing there. Some were chatting quietly. Some were excitedly looking around. Others were so nervous that they held their luggage without saying a word. The entire scene was both chaotic and scattered. I didn't go over to join anyone. I found a spot by myself and stood properly. Before long, a familiar voice came from behind me. Big Brother Sue? I turned around and looked. Wang Shuebing was holding his luggage and staring at me with widened eyes. I smiled too. What a coincidence. He quickly ran over, his face red with excitement. It really is you. Big Brother Sue, the two of us actually got assigned together. Looks like we're quite fated. I was also somewhat surprised. Recruit assignment had a high degree of randomness. Forget that we had only just met. Even if brothers signed up together, they might not necessarily enter the same unit. Yet Wang Shuebing and I just happened to run into each other again. He grinned broadly. It's good to have someone familiar. I was just worried I wouldn't know anyone. Now you do. I patted his shoulder. We'll look after each other from now on. Okay. We had only exchanged a few words when four people suddenly walked over from the distance. The person at the front had 1 bar and 1 star on his shoulder. He was a second lieutenant. The other 3 were all non-commissioned officers. As soon as they appeared, the chatter on the training ground immediately quieted down. Without needing anyone to remind them, the recruits began lining up with their luggage. But none of us had been trained. You stood in front. I squeezed behind. The line was crooked and loose. The second lieutenant walked up to us. He only glanced once, and his face darkened. Stand properly, all of you. His roar directly suppressed the entire field. Everyone's body trembled. As soldiers, you can't even stand straight. What do you look like? Once you put on the uniform, you are no longer ordinary people. What the uniform represents is not prestige, but honor, responsibility, and duty. From the moment you put it on, what you carry on your shoulders is the mission of defending the home and protecting the country. The training ground instantly fell silent. Those who had still been grinning a moment earlier all tensed their bodies and didn't dare move. I could tell. This was a show of authority, and also a warning. We weren't here to play. The second lieutenant's gaze swept across each person's face. Cold, sharp, like a knife. Almost everyone who met his gaze instinctively lowered their head. Wang Shuebing was no exception. He lowered his voice. Big Brother Su, this officer's eyes are really scary. Stand properly. I reminded him, because that second lieutenant had already looked toward me. Our eyes met. I didn't dodge. His gaze indeed carried a strong sense of pressure. It even carried a fierce aura that made people uncomfortable. But to the current me, it wasn't enough. I stood perfectly straight and looked at him calmly. He stared at me for several seconds. A trace of surprise flashed through his eyes. Only then did he move his gaze away. But I could tell. He had remembered me. Let me introduce myself. The second lieutenant spoke again. My name is Chen Yang. From now on, I am the officer in charge of leading this batch of recruits. Next, I will take you to the unit. He paused, and his voice suddenly turned colder. I know that among you, some genuinely want to become soldiers. Some were sent here by their families to be trained. And some merely want to muddle through 2 years and go home with a layer of prestige. Several recruits' eyes dodged. Chen Yang sneered. Unfortunately, you've fallen into my hands. You want to muddle through? Kill that thought as early as possible. Some of you may follow me today and be sent back a few days later. This is not me trying to scare you. If you can't bear it, quit now. A slight commotion appeared in the ranks. Some were nervous. Some were unconvinced. Others clearly didn't take his words seriously. Wasn't it just serving as a conscript? No matter how tough training was, how tough could it really be? Being sent back after only a few days. How was that possible? Chen Yang didn't explain. He directly issued an order. Everyone, listen to my command. Put on your packs. Forward at a run. Target, the train station. No whispering on the road. And no looking around. Everyone froze. The train station? Run there? This place was nearly 6 kilometers away from the train station. And every one of us was carrying bedding, uniforms, and all kinds of supplies. If we ran all the way there, quite a few people would definitely collapse. No one in the ranks moved. Several recruits looked at one another, seeming to suspect that they had misheard. Chen Yang's face completely darkened. Are you all deaf? Or do you simply not want to go? Whoever doesn't want to become a soldier, report it now. No one dared speak. Standing in the first row, I directly picked up my luggage and was the first to rush out. Run! As soon as I moved, Wang Shuebing immediately followed. The others reacted and could only grit their teeth and start running. Chen Yang waved his hand and led the 3 non-commissioned officers to follow along both sides of the line. Our loose and scattered group rushed out of the Armed Forces Department just like that and ran along the street toward the train station. Dozens of recruits in military uniforms running down the street with luggage in their arms naturally caused quite a commotion. Passers-by stopped one after another to watch. Some pointed in disgust. Some took out their phones. There were even children chasing after the line and shouting. But no one dared stop. We had run less than 1 kilometer when complaints sounded from the back. We're really running? 6 kilometers? Isn't this just tormenting people? They couldn't even arrange one vehicle? We haven't even reached the unit yet, and they already want to run us into the ground. The voices were very quiet, but Chen Yang still heard them. He suddenly turned his head and swept his gaze over. Those few people immediately shut their mouths and didn't even dare breathe too loudly. I carried my luggage and continued running at a steady rhythm. My breathing was even. My legs were powerful. The load on my body had practically no effect on me. Instead, Chen Yang's method made me confirm one thing. The unit we were going to was probably not simple. In normal recruit handling, the beginning would usually be relatively gentle. But from the moment Chen Yang appeared, he had continuously applied pressure. Lining up, lecturing, a 6-kilometer loaded run. This was obviously screening people. Just then, the familiar system notification suddenly sounded. Ding. System mission issued. Host, please arrive at the train station within 18 minutes. Mission complete. Reward 200 military merit points. Mission failure. No penalty. My steps paused slightly. 18 minutes. Nearly 6 kilometers. And with a load. At the current speed of the group, it was absolutely impossible to complete. But for me, this mission was practically a free giveaway. 200 military merit points. What I lacked most right now was exactly this. System, you've finally done something human. I stared ahead, the corner of my mouth lifting. The next second, I accelerated directly. Because I was standing in the first row, as soon as I charged, the speed of the entire line was pulled up. The people behind immediately panicked. Front, slow down. Why are you running so fast? Are you crazy? Wang Shuebing gritted his teeth and followed beside me. Big brother Su, why did you suddenly speed up? I glanced at him. Can you keep up? He was panting heavily, but his eyes were stubborn. Even if I can't, I have to. Good. I raised my hand and pointed ahead. Then don't fall behind. At the side of the line, Qinyang quickly noticed the abnormality. He frowned and looked at me at the very front. A non-commissioned officer beside him asked in a low voice, "Should we make him slow down?" Qinyang didn't answer immediately. As he ran, he stared at my back. A few seconds later, he waved his hand. No need. Let him run. Another non-commissioned officer was somewhat worried. But these recruits just reported in. At this pace, before we reach the train station, at least half of them will collapse. Qinyang's tone was cold and hard. Better to collapse here than fall on the battlefield. This 6 kilometers was originally the first test. I want to see what their physical fitness is like and what their willpower is like. The non-commissioned officer glanced ahead. That kid's physical ability is not bad. Qinyang narrowed his eyes. More than not bad. He's carrying a full set of luggage, and his speed is still increasing. And his breathing hasn't become chaotic. His movements haven't deformed either. At this point, his gaze darkened. This kid is hiding very deep. I couldn't hear their conversation, nor did I care. I only stared ahead. 18 minutes. 200 military merit points. Whoever dared stop me, I'd shake them off. The complaints behind me grew louder and louder. The line was also stretched longer and longer by me. Some people's faces turned pale. Some people's steps became weak. Others were provoked into cursing, gritting their teeth as they tried to catch up to me. Yet they couldn't even touch my shadow. I didn't slow down. Instead, I widened my stride again. The wind swept past my ears. The train station was right ahead, and my military merit points were waiting for me there. Sure enough, it didn't take long before the line behind me exploded. Front, slow down. Who's setting the pace? I can't keep up. This is killing me. We've only just started. Waves of complaints came one after another. Qinyang glanced back and immediately gave the order. First row, control the pace. The 4 people beside me felt as if they had been pardoned and immediately slowed down. But I didn't stop. Not only did I not slow down, I actually sped up even more. The system mission required me to reach the train station within 18 minutes. At a time like this, you want me to slowly shuffle along with the main group? Did I still want those 200 military merit points or not? In the blink of an eye, I had already rushed out of the line and was running alone at the very front. That soldier. Qinyang caught up from behind and shouted sternly at me. I'm talking to you. Slow down and return to the formation. Yes. My mouth answered loudly, but my feet ran even faster. Qinyang's face darkened on the spot. Zhonglei. Here. Bring that brat back to me. Yes. Footsteps rapidly approached. I glanced back. A lean and capable-looking non-commissioned officer was chasing toward me at high speed. Want to catch me? That depends on whether you can catch up. I accelerated again. Zhang Lei was clearly stunned for a moment, then bit onto my rhythm and also sped up. one in front and one behind. We quickly left the main group far behind. The recruits behind us were all dumbfounded. Is that guy crazy? The squad leader is personally chasing him, and he still dares to run? Isn't he asking to be punished? Before long, the group had completely disappeared behind me. Zhang Lei maintained a distance of about 5 meters from me the whole time. He didn't rush to pounce on me, clearly waiting for my stamina to run out. I could feel that his breathing had remained steady the whole time. This veteran indeed had something to him. Unfortunately, the one he was chasing was me. After running for a while longer, Zhang Lei suddenly spoke. Kid, don't force yourself. Stop now, and I can still let you suffer a little less. Squad leader, catch me first, then we'll talk. Fine. His voice suddenly turned fierce. Today, I'll really accompany you to the end. The footsteps behind me instantly grew hurried. Zhang Lei sped up. I sped up too. He was fast. I was even faster. 5 meters. 6 meters. 8 meters. The distance between us didn't shrink. Instead, it grew wider and wider. How is this possible? For the first time, shock appeared in Zhang Lei's voice. I didn't turn back. I only threw out one sentence. Squad leader, keep up. Don't get cocky, brat. He cursed, his tone full of unwillingness, as if he absolutely had to win back the dignity of a veteran. But 5 minutes later, his footsteps had already become chaotic. His breathing also grew heavier and heavier. Yet my rhythm still hadn't changed. Running farther ahead, the train station had already appeared in view. I accelerated one final time and charged directly onto the platform. The system notification sounded along with it. Mission complete. 200 military merit points received. I stopped and rolled my shoulders. My breathing was steady, and my legs weren't sore either. 2 minutes later, Zhang Lei finally rushed into the train station. He ran up to me, propping his hands on his knees as he panted heavily. His training uniform was already soaked with sweat, and both legs were trembling. I looked at him. He also raised his head and looked at me. The air suddenly fell silent. After a few seconds, he finally suppressed his breathing and asked with feigned calm, "How long have you been waiting?" "About 2 minutes." "How long?" "2 minutes." Zhang Lei's expression stiffened. He was obviously calculating the result in his head. This stretch was nearly 6 kilometers, and he had taken around 20 minutes. I was 2 minutes faster than him, which meant my result was within 18 minutes. If it were only a 5-kilometer run, I might even run it in under 17 minutes. The way he looked at me completely changed. Just now, he had still been looking at a troublemaker. Now, it was already as if he were looking at a freshly dug-up piece of gold. However, he quickly put on a stern face and resumed his squad leader posture. Running fast doesn't mean you can disobey orders. You are a soldier now. Obeying orders is the first rule. Do you understand? I immediately stood straight. Understood. Will you dare act on your own again next time? Reporting to squad leader depends on the situation. Zhang Lei's eyes widened. What did you say? Reporting. I said I won't dare. He stared at me for 2 seconds, so angry that he cursed a few more times. The purpose of his scolding was very clear. He wanted to suppress my troublemaker arrogance. But after he finished scolding, he himself couldn't keep a straight face anymore. You brat, you really can run. Squad leader isn't bad either. Stop flattering me. Why didn't you wait for me just now? I did. I looked at the platform. For 2 minutes. Zhang Lei's face darkened again. Half an hour later, the main group arrived one after another. The recruit formation that had still been relatively neat just now was now completely scattered. Some were supporting their waists. Some were dragging their legs. Others collapsed onto the ground the moment they entered the station, their chests heaving like bellows. I stood to the side, barely sweating. The contrast was too obvious. As soon as many people entered the station, they stared at me with eyes like they were seeing a monster. He really finished running? I heard he even shook off the squad leader? No. Is this guy really a recruit? Qinyang arrived last. He first glanced at me, then looked toward Zhang Lei. What happened? Zhang Lei walked over and explained what had just happened in a low voice. After Qinyang finished listening, his gaze immediately locked onto me. Surprise appeared for only an instant. Very quickly, he returned to his serious expression. Su Ming, return to formation. Yes. I jogged back into the line. The greenskin train soon entered the station. Under the veteran's command, we boarded one after another. I found a window seat. As soon as I had put away my luggage, Wang Shuebing squeezed over and plopped down beside me. He still hadn't caught his breath when he grabbed my arm. Big brother, what exactly did you eat growing up? Normal meals. Can normal meals make even a veteran run until he collapses? He lowered his voice, his face full of excitement. You didn't see it. Just now, the whole team was talking about you. Some said you were a professional long-distance runner, and others said you had practiced martial arts before. Neither. Then how are you so fierce? Born that way. Wang Shuebing opened his mouth, then finally gave me a thumbs up. Big brother is big brother. He caught his breath, then leaned a little closer. By the way, I asked around, but still no one knows where we're going. Do you have any news? Tibetan region. What? Wang Shuebing suddenly sat up straight. You're saying we're going to the Tibetan region? Almost certainly. How do you know? Before I could answer, a voice suddenly came from beside us. I'd like to know too. I turned and looked. At some point, Qinyang had appeared in the aisle and was staring at me. Wang Shuebing immediately sat up straight, not even knowing where to put his hands. Hello, officer. Qinyang ignored him and only looked at me. Tell me, why do you judge that we're going to the Tibetan region? Observation. What did you observe? Your faces and hands. Qinyang raised an eyebrow. Be more specific. I pointed at his face. The skin of the few of you isn't just tanned. There are signs of dryness and chapping on your faces, and the cracks on your hands are also obvious. Ordinary field training may not necessarily cause this. Qinyang didn't express an opinion. Continue. Also, from the moment we met, your faces have been constantly flushed. It looks like you drank alcohol, but there's no smell of alcohol on you. So I guessed it was oxygen intoxication. The carriage suddenly went quiet. Several recruits nearby all pricked up their ears. Qinyang stared at me. What kind of people are prone to oxygen intoxication? People who stay in high-altitude areas for a long time. When they suddenly come to a low-altitude area, the oxygen concentration increases, and their bodies may feel discomfort. I glanced outside the window. Combined with the direction the train is traveling, the destination isn't hard to guess. Wang Shuebing listened with his mouth agape. You can judge it like that? I spread my hands. It's very obvious. Obvious how? Wang Shuebing almost jumped up in excitement. You're the only one in the whole carriage who figured it out. Qinyang's gaze also gained a bit more scrutiny. Your name is Su Ming? Yes. I'll remember you. After saying that, he turned and left. Wang Shuebing waited until he was far away before letting out a long breath. That scared me to death. Then he grabbed me again. Big brother, not only can you run, your brain works this well too? Let go. No, teach me. Learn to observe first. Observe what? Observe that if you don't let go, the squad leader is going to come over. Wang Shuebing immediately released me. Along the way, I became the focus of the entire carriage. From time to time, someone came over to ask questions. Su Ming, is the Tibetan region especially cold? I heard the altitude there is very high, and you'll pant just from walking. Is that true? Is the allowance higher than in other places? Will we get altitude sickness as soon as we arrive? I only answered with one sentence. You'll know when we get there. Wang Shuebing, however, was extremely excited. Big brother, I've never seen snowy mountains before. I heard the sky there is especially blue and the scenery is especially beautiful. I glanced at him. The beauty is real. So is the hardship. How hard? When you get there, just don't vomit on me. Wang Shuebing looked unconvinced. Who are you looking down on? My body is very healthy. I didn't argue with him. On the plateau, the altitude exceeded 4,000 meters. Oxygen was thin, and the climate was changeable. A normal person might gasp after walking a few steps there, let alone train. And we weren't going there to travel. We were going there to be soldiers. In another carriage, Qinyang was flipping through our files. Zhang Lei sat across from him, still somewhat unconvinced. Platoon leader Chun, that brat's file doesn't say he trained in long-distance running. That's exactly why he's worth paying attention to. I just wasn't prepared. Qinyang didn't even raise his head. Next time you're prepared, let him shake you off by 2 minutes again. Zhang Lei's face darkened. Platoon leader Chun, that's not very nice. Qinyang closed the file. Just kidding. Then he tapped my name. Su Ming. Strong physical fitness, and his observation skills are also good. He's a good seedling. Pay special attention during training. Understood. Zhang Lei nodded, then asked again. How many of this batch of recruits can stay in the end? Qinyang was silent for a moment. As many as can stay will stay, but safety must be guaranteed. This isn't the plains. Training can be harsh, but accidents are not acceptable. The train traveled westward all the way. More than 40 hours later, it finally pulled into the station. Everyone, attention! Zhang Lei shouted in the aisle. Take your luggage and prepare to get off. The recruits rose one after another. After sitting for too long, quite a few people's legs had already gone numb. Some had only taken 2 steps before their bodies swayed. We carried our luggage and got off the train. The instant his feet stepped onto the platform, Wang Xuebing took a deep breath. This is the Tibetan region? We haven't reached the station yet. I looked up ahead. The real discomfort is still to come. Qinyang held the roster and began taking roll. Li Chao, here. Zhang Wei, here. Wang Xuebing, here. Su Ming, here. After confirming the number of people was correct, Qinyang stood at the front of the formation. You should already know the destination. When he said this, he even deliberately glanced at me. That's right. We are going to the 5th Border Defense Regiment in the Tibetan region. A wave of low discussion immediately sounded in the formation. Qinyang's voice sank. Quiet. Everyone immediately shut their mouths. The conditions here are harder than in many places. What you will face is not only training, but also oxygen deficiency, low temperatures, and altitude sickness. I'll say this up front. If you're afraid of hardship, there's nowhere for you to run now. Since you've put on this uniform, hold on for me. Do you understand? Understood. Outside the station, the troop transport trucks were already waiting. We soon boarded and set off toward the recruit training base. As the altitude continued to rise, the atmosphere inside the vehicle completely changed. At first, there were still people leaning against the windows to look at the scenery. Before long, the voices diminished. Why do I feel a little headache? I feel bad too. My chest feels tight. Is being a soldier in the Tibetan region really this hard? I heard the allowance is high. No matter how high it is, you still have to be alive to get it. Wang Xuebing's face grew paler and paler. He gripped the handrail in the truck and looked at me. Big brother, I feel something's wrong. Dizzy. Nauseous. A little. Normal. Altitude sickness. Why are you fine? My body is good. Can you not be so direct? That really hurts. I patted his shoulder. Talk less. Save your strength. Endure for a few days, and once your body adapts, it'll ease. Wang Xuebing nodded. The next second, his expression suddenly changed. Bag. I immediately shoved a plastic bag to him. He lowered his head and vomited directly. Very soon, similar sounds rose around us. By the time the troop transport truck arrived at the base, more than half of the 90 recruits had pale faces. Quite a few couldn't even stand steadily. Get off. The veterans had long since been waiting beside the vehicle. While maintaining order, they reached out to support the recruits with severe reactions. Wang Xuebing had just stepped onto the ground when he vomited again. Big brother, just now I even said my body was healthy. I heard. Can you not bring it up? No. He didn't even have the strength to refute me and could only roll his eyes at me. People around us were swaying and stumbling. I stood in the formation with my luggage, breathing steadily, without any discomfort. This scene was far too conspicuous. Several veterans looked at me multiple times. That kid has no altitude sickness. Looks like he's really fine. There's a physique like that among recruits. Zhang Lei also walked over. He first looked at Wang Xuebing, who was almost exhausted, then looked at me. How do you feel? Reporting to squad leader, everything is normal. No headache. No headache. No nausea. No nausea. No chest tightness. Squad leader, I can still run another 6 kilometers. The corner of Zhang Lei's mouth twitched. Shut up. Qinyang soon began assigning squads. 90 recruits, 9 squads. According to the original list, I should have gone to Squad 9. But when he read to the end, I was assigned to 1st Platoon, Squad 3. Squad 3 Su Ming. Here. I answered and stepped out. As soon as I looked up, I saw Zhang Lei standing in front of Squad 3. He saw me too. Our eyes met. I smiled. His face darkened. What are you smiling at? Reporting to squad leader, I'm happy to see someone familiar. Who's familiar with you? You chased me for 6 kilometers. Doesn't that make us familiar? Several recruits beside us couldn't hold it in and almost laughed out loud. Zhang Lei swept his gaze at them. Is it funny? Everyone immediately tightened their faces. Not funny. Then stand properly. After Zhang Lei finished roaring, he glared at me fiercely again. I knew the days ahead would probably be lively. Squad leaders, take your men back to the dormitories. Qinyang gave the order. Those with severe reactions, contact the medics immediately. Yes. Squad 3, form up. Wang Xuebing had also been assigned to Squad 3. He carried his luggage with one hand and supported himself with the other on me, his whole body almost hanging off me. Big brother, I can't make it. A man can't say he can't. You're still joking at a time like this? If you can talk, that means the problem isn't too serious. Zhang Lei glanced at him. Walk by yourself. Wang Xuebing immediately released me, gritted his teeth, and stood straight. Yes. We were led into the dormitory. Zhang Lei quickly assigned beds, then stood in the center aisle. Listen clearly. The mess hall is right after you exit and turn right. Breakfast is at 6:40, lunch at 12 o'clock, dinner at 1800 hours. When the time comes, you must eat. Someone weakly asked. Squad leader, when does training begin? 3 days later. Hearing this, many people breathed a sigh of relief. But Zhang Lei continued. For these 3 days, you only have 2 tasks. Eat and sleep. No running, no exercising, no wandering around. If anyone feels unwell, report immediately. Don't try to be tough, and don't joke with your life. Do you understand? Understood. The voices were weak and feeble. Zhang Lei's eyes sharpened. Have you not eaten? Everyone forced themselves to shout. Understood. Get into bed and rest. As soon as the order was given, half the dormitory collapsed instantly. Some people didn't even lay out their blankets and directly sprawled onto the bedboards. Wang Xuebing climbed onto the upper bunk above me, moving as slowly as an old man. Big brother, help me up. Climb by yourself. I really have no strength. When the squad leader told you to walk by yourself just now, didn't you walk just fine? That was because I was scared. I gave him a push and helped him onto the bed. After that, I organized my personal belongings and put my luggage into the storage cabinet. Everyone else was struggling against altitude sickness. I genuinely didn't feel anything at all. However, an order was an order. I climbed into bed and closed my eyes to sleep. When I opened my eyes again, the sky was already dark. The dormitory was filled with snores. The next second, a thunderous shout came from the doorway. Everyone get up. Zhang Lei stood outside the door, his voice like exploding thunder. Go to the mess hall and eat immediately. A wave of painful groans immediately sounded from the beds. Someone covered his head with a blanket. Squad leader, I feel too awful. I really can't eat. Eat even if you can't. Zhang Lei walked in and yanked away his blanket. Your bodies are consuming a lot of energy right now. If you don't replenish energy, are you planning to lie straight into the infirmary? All of you get up. Not one less. Everyone could only force themselves out of bed. Wang Xuebing poked a pale face down from the upper bunk. Big brother, pull me up. Come down. My legs are weak. Then fall down. It'll wake you up faster. You're my real big brother. Don't be this ruthless. I reached out and helped him down. After he stood steady, he looked at me, then looked at the other recruits with unsteady steps. Big brother, are you really human? What kind of way is that to talk? Everyone else is about to lose half their lives, but you're still this energetic. I straightened my collar and walked toward the door. Enough nonsense. Eat more later. Wang Xuebing followed while clutching his chest. I'm afraid I'll vomit again after eating. Vomit, then eat again. That ruthless. I turned back and looked at him. This is the plateau and also the army. If you want to stay, you have to endure. Wang Xuebing froze for a moment, then gritted his teeth. Fine. Since you haven't fallen, I can't admit defeat either. I patted his shoulder. That's more like it. Just then, the system notification sounded again. A new mission had arrived. Zhang Lei led us into the mess hall. As soon as I sat down, I noticed the atmosphere was off. A group of recruits held their trays, their faces pale. Some put down their chopsticks after eating 2 bites. Some wanted to vomit just from smelling the food. Wang Xuebing lay beside the table and waved weakly. Big brother, I really can't eat. Force down a few bites. No. My stomach's turning upside down. I didn't persuade him anymore and lowered my head to shovel food into my mouth. 1 bite. 2 bites. The more I ate, the better it tasted. The tenfold physique strengthening had not only improved my strength and endurance. Even my metabolism and adaptability had skyrocketed. While others were still fighting altitude sickness, I had already completely recovered. Wang Shuebing stared at me, his eyes going straight. Big brother, are you really fine? What could be wrong? This is over 4,000 meters. The altitude is high, but it doesn't interfere with eating. I picked up my tray and continued eating. People around me all looked over. There was no helping it. The recruits in the entire mess hall were wilted like eggplants after frost, while I was eating with enthusiasm. It was hard not to stand out. On the other side of the mess hall, the 3 platoon leaders also noticed me. Only later did I learn that during meals, they had been observing us the whole time. The 2nd platoon leader asked first, "Any good seedlings in your platoon?" The 3rd platoon leader shook his head. "Not for now. They slept all afternoon, and they're not energetic while eating either. Their performance is about the same." The 2nd platoon leader raised his chin toward me. "What about that one?" The 3rd platoon leader glanced at me. "He's not from our 3rd platoon. 1st platoon, squad 3. He turned to look at Chun Yang, his tone a little sour. "Old Chun, your 1st platoon picked up treasure again. From getting off the vehicle until now, that brat hasn't shown any altitude sickness at all. In the whole mess hall, he's the one eating the most heartily." Chun Yang, however, was very calm. "It's just individual physical differences. No altitude sickness doesn't mean his overall quality is strong. And that brat has a wild temperament. He may not be easy to lead." Though he said that, Chun Yang had long since set his sights on me. After all, during that run from the camp to the train station, I had already shaken off Zhang Lei, a veteran, once. After dinner, Zhang Lei told us to return to the dormitory. The order was still 2 words: sleep. When everyone else heard it, they felt as if they had been pardoned. One by one, supporting each other, they wished they could immediately crawl into bed. But I was very energetic. I had already slept enough in the afternoon. Going back now to lie down would be purely wasting time. Just as I was wondering what to do, the system notification suddenly sounded. Mission issued. Become an unconventional recruit. Mission requirement. Finish smoking 1 cigarette inside the mess hall. Mission reward. 100 military merit points. Failure penalty. Lose your sense of taste for 1 week. My steps paused. You really want me dead, don't you? Smoking in public in recruit company. And inside the mess hall, no less. This was no longer a question of whether I had guts. This was directly bouncing on the squad leader's face. But 100 military merit points were right in front of me. And failure meant losing my sense of taste for a week. I had just eaten so deliciously. How could I possibly endure 7 days of everything tasting the same? I'd do it. I stopped walking and took out a pack of Huazi and a lighter from the system space. I flicked out 1 cigarette, put it between my lips. Click. A flame rose. I lit the cigarette and took a deep drag. Usually, smoking required taking it slowly. This time was different. I was in a hurry. 1 drag after another, the cigarette tip rapidly turned red. Several recruits beside me were dumbfounded on the spot. Wang Shuebing's voice was trembling. "Big brother, what are you doing?" "Smoking. I know you're smoking. The question is, how dare you smoke here?" No time to explain. I took another big drag. The sound of the lighter wasn't loud, but Zhang Lei was an old smoker. He was far too familiar with it. Almost the very next second after I lit the cigarette, he suddenly turned his head. When he saw the cigarette in my mouth, his whole face instantly darkened. "Su Ming." One roar silenced the entire mess hall. Zhang Lei strode up to me, his gaze as if he wanted to nail me to the spot. "Who allowed you to smoke?" I blinked. "Squad leader, you didn't say I couldn't." The surrounding recruits collectively sucked in a breath of cold air. Zhang Lei was also choked by my words. In order for us to adapt to the plateau, the army had only arranged rest for the first 3 days. Many rules hadn't been emphasized one by one yet. I had seized precisely this loophole. But just because the rule hadn't been stated didn't mean I was in the right for doing this. Zhang Lei's chest rose and fell violently. Clearly, he had already cursed me thoroughly in his heart. "Put it out." "Right away." My mouth agreed, but I took another fierce drag. There was still a small section left. 2 more drags, and the mission would be done. The veins on Zhang Lei's forehead bulged. "I told you to put it out." "Don't rush, squad leader." I pulled a cigarette from the pack and handed it to him. "Want one? Perk yourself up." At this moment, the way Zhang Lei looked at me was no longer anger. It was the desire to hit me. The surrounding recruits were completely energized too. Altitude sickness? Discomfort? None of it existed anymore. Everyone was staring at me and Zhang Lei, afraid they might miss even the tiniest detail. A recruit smoking openly on the first day of enlistment, and even daring to offer a cigarette to the squad leader. They probably all felt I wouldn't survive until lights out. Just as Zhang Lei was about to lose control of his anger, Qin Yang's voice came from behind. Squad 3 leader. Here. Zhang Lei reflexively turned and stood at attention. Qin Yang glanced at the cigarette between my fingers. Take him for a 10-kilometer run. Let him clear his head. Yes. Zhang Lei suddenly turned back and stared at me through gritted teeth. Smoking felt pretty comfortable, did it? Not bad. Then come run 10 kilometers with me. Dare to. I looked at the cigarette, but one last drag. Inhale. Put it out. Ding. Mission complete. Reward. 100 military merit points. The moment the notification sounded, I smiled. Platoon leader. I looked past Zhang Lei directly at Qin Yang. After I finished the 10 kilometers, is the smoking matter considered over? Qin Yang stared at me. As long as after you finish running, you can still stand and speak to me like you are now, I won't pursue it. Deal. I rolled my shoulders and raised my hand toward Zhang Lei. Squad leader, let's go. Don't waste time. The corner of Zhang Lei's eye twitched. He didn't waste any more words with me and turned to give the command. Right face. Forward. March at the run. He rushed out first. I immediately followed. Behind us, a group of recruits were still craning their necks to watch the commotion. Qin Yang swept his gaze across them. What? You want to run 10 kilometers too? The crowd instantly dispersed. Wang Xuebing ran the fastest. What a joke. They were panting even while walking. If they really followed us out to run, they'd probably collapse after half a lap. At the beginning, Zhang Lei ran very fast. He was clearly holding in anger and wanted to directly shake me off. On the previous run to the train station, he had lost to me. This time, he wanted to win back his face. Unfortunately, he had chosen the wrong person. I followed beside him unhurriedly. After 2 kilometers, his breathing began to grow heavy. After 3 kilometers, sweat appeared on his forehead. After 4 kilometers, I couldn't help speaking. Squad leader. Speak. Isn't this a little slow? Zhang Lei's steps stiffened, and he immediately accelerated. I sped up along with him. After another kilometer, his breathing had already become chaotic. I looked at him. Squad leader, you're panting pretty hard. Should I wait for you? Shut up. Zhang Lei gritted his teeth, the fire in his tone almost impossible to suppress. Focus on running. Got it. I agreed cheerfully, then accelerated again. A few seconds later, I surpassed him. Squad leader, I'll wait for you at the finish line. You? Zhang Lei cursed behind me. I didn't hear exactly what he said, but the momentum was strong. He probably wished he could kick me from behind. I didn't stop. If I was going to slap someone's face, I had to do it thoroughly. At the end of 10 kilometers, I stood at the finish line and moved my wrist. My body was slightly warm. My breathing was still steady. Quite a while later, Zhang Lei finally rushed past the finish line. 39 minutes. On the plateau, this result was already very strong. But at that moment, he was propping his hands on his knees, panting like a broken bellows, sweat dripping down from his chin. I walked over and offered him a cigarette. Squad leader, you worked hard. Want one? To calm down. Zhang Lei raised his head and looked at me. That gaze was especially complicated. There was anger, frustration, and also a bit of resignation. This time, he didn't refuse. He took the cigarette, lit it, and took a fierce drag. You brat. He panted twice before completing the sentence. How exactly did you train? I didn't train much. I've been fast since I was little, with good endurance. That's it. That's it. Zhang Lei stared at me for a few seconds, then finally waved his hand. A loss was a loss. He was a veteran, and also a straightforward person. He didn't continue stubbornly trying to save face. However, he quickly put on a stern expression again. Running fast doesn't mean you can mess around. As for today's matter, since the platoon leader said it's over, I won't pursue it further. But during the training ahead, I'll be watching you closely. If you fail to meet the standard in any subject, I absolutely won't let you off. I immediately stood straight. Yes. Squad leader, rest assured. I guarantee I won't give you the chance. Zhang Lei's face darkened again. You'd better mean it that way. When I returned to the dormitory, everyone else was already asleep. Snores filled the room. As soon as I lay down, a head poked down from the upper bunk. Wang Shuebing lowered his voice. Big brother. You're still alive? I raised my foot and kicked the bedboard. If you don't know how to talk, then sleep. Wang Shuebing quickly shrank his neck. No, I was worried about you. Squad leader didn't punish you? Ran 10 kilometers. And then I came back. That's simple. What else? Wang Shuebing was silent for 2 seconds, then suddenly gave me a thumbs up. Big brother, I truly admire you. You smoked right in front of the squad leader and still walked back by yourself after running 10 kilometers. You're really fierce. Don't learn from me. I reminded him. I can withstand it. You may not be able to. If you copy me, whether you can finish the 10 kilometers is one thing. The squad leader will definitely first make you understand what rules are. Don't worry. Wang Shuebing smiled honestly. I know my own limits. I don't even know how to smoke. All right. Sleep. Okay. Big brother, as long as you're fine. He pulled his head back. Before long, snoring sounded again. But I didn't sleep. The system interface had already appeared before my eyes. The mission to reach the train station, plus the mission to smoke publicly just now, meant I now had a total of 300 military merit points. A lottery draw cost 1,000 points. I was still far off. I directly opened the shop and set the price limit to 300. A large number of items were filtered out. In the end, only a few basic options remained. One of them immediately caught my attention. Recruit basic skills. Content: folding blankets, military posture, goose step, commands, internal affairs regulations, and other basic knowledge, with synchronized muscle memory. Exchange price: 300 military merit points. Perfect. What I lacked most right now was exactly this. After showing off twice in a row, I had already become the focus among the recruits. As long as my later results were strong enough, that would be called having personality. But if I performed poorly in other subjects, then I wouldn't be a troublemaker. I'd be a joke. I didn't want to be pressed to the ground and slapped in the face over and over again. Exchange. Ding. Exchange successful. Learn immediately. Learn. The next second, a large amount of information poured into my mind. How to press the blanket. How to cut the lines. How to shape the corners. How to stand at military posture. How to kick the goose step. How to shout commands. Every movement was directly carved into my muscles. It wasn't just knowing a little. It was as familiar as if I had practiced for years. I clenched my fist, the corners of my mouth lifting. These 300 military merit points were well spent. Only later did I learn that Zhang Lei hadn't slept that night either. He went to report to Qinyang. Platoon leader Chun, I really did my best. Qinyang looked at him. You didn't outrun him? Zhang Lei's face stiffened. No. That brat is strange as hell. Fast speed, steady rhythm, and especially strong endurance. At first, I wanted to suppress him, but after several kilometers, I was the one whose rhythm was disrupted by him. In the end, he reached the finish line early and waited for me. Qinyang was silent for 2 seconds. Clearly, he hadn't expected this result either. How long did you take for 10 kilometers? 39 minutes. What about him? I don't know. Zhang Lei's expression became even uglier. When I reached the finish line, he wasn't even panting. Qinyang tapped his fingers against the table. Running fast means his foundation is good. He's material. But his temperament is indeed wild. The more a soldier is like this, the more he needs to be properly tempered. He fixed his eyes on Zhang Lei. For the next 3 months, keep a close eye on him. Force out his potential, and grind down his temper for me. Understood. Zhang Lei stood at attention, but he didn't leave immediately. Qinyang frowned. Something else. Zhang Lei took out an unopened pack of Huazi from his pocket. That brat forced this onto me. I didn't want it, but he threw it down and ran. Platoon leader Chun, how should this be handled? Qinyang took the cigarettes and looked at them twice. Soft Zhonghua. That brat is pretty particular about what he smokes. Zhang Lei looked at him eagerly. Then these cigarettes. They were given to you, so keep them. Zhang Lei had only just revealed a smile when Chun Yang's expression sank. But I'm warning you. You can accept the cigarettes, but there must be no leniency in training. For matters of principle, punish what needs to be punished. Do you hear me? Yes. Zhang Lei nimbly opened the pack and pulled one out to offer him. Platoon leader Chun, want one? Qinyang looked at him and still accepted it. At least you have some conscience. Zhang Lei immediately lit it for him, then ran off with the cigarettes. The 3-day adaptation period passed quickly. During these 3 days, we only did 3 things: eat, sleep, adapt to the plateau. Those in good health recovered in a day. Those with worse health could move normally after 2 or 3 days as well. But there were still 9 people who couldn't withstand it. After examination by the military doctor, they were sent back to their places of origin. No one laughed at them. Not being able to adapt to the plateau was due to physical reasons, not because they didn't want to stay. But when they left carrying their luggage, the entire dormitory fell silent. Wang Xuebing looked at the doorway and asked me in a low voice, "Big brother, are they never coming back? At least they won't stay here. That's kind of a pity. So you have to make something of yourself." I patted his shoulder. "Since you stayed, don't muddle through." Wang Xuebing nodded heavily. "Understood." After the 9 people left, 81 recruits remained. Adaptation had ended. The real training was also about to begin. Early in the morning on the 4th day, the whistle suddenly exploded. "Get up." The dormitory instantly descended into chaos. Some couldn't find their socks. Some put their pants on backward. Some rushed outside before even tying their shoelaces properly. By the time everyone stood properly, Zhang Lei's face had already darkened. He swept his gaze over us and spoke coldly. "Starting today, you are not here to recuperate. You are here to learn rules, learn discipline, and learn how to be soldiers." No one dared make a sound. Zhang Lei turned and pointed at his own bed. A military blanket sat there square and proper, with distinct edges and corners. Every day after getting up, the first thing is to organize internal affairs. The blanket must be folded like this: straight lines, flat surface, clear edges and corners. Whoever folds it into a lump for me, I'll make him hold that blanket and stand for an entire day. Someone nervously swallowed. Zhang Lei continued, "The internal affairs regulations must also be memorized. Whether you copy them, memorize them, or recite them while sleep-talking, I don't care. I only look at the result. When I do spot checks, whoever can't answer will bear the consequences himself." After saying that, he directly unfolded the blanket. "I'll demonstrate only once. Watch clearly. Spread it flat. Press it firm. Mark the lines. Fold. Shape the corners. Pinch the edges." His movements were fast and steady. In less than 3 minutes, a fluffy blanket had turned back into a tofu block. "Did you see clearly?" "We saw clearly." The replies were messy. Zhang Lei's face darkened. "Have you not eaten?" "Did you see clearly?" "We saw clearly." This time, the voices were finally neat. 10 minutes. Organize your beds. In 10 minutes, I inspect." Zhang Lei turned and left. The moment the door closed, the dormitory exploded. "How do you fold this?" I clearly copied the squad leader. "Why does mine look like a big steamed bun?" "Mine is even worse. It looks like someone stepped on it." "Who knows how to shape the corners? Help me." A group of people frantically wrestled with their blankets. Folded, then unfolded. Unfolded, then folded. The more they worked, the messier it became. Wang Xuebing was so anxious his forehead was covered in sweat. "Big brother, does this thing have a grudge against me?" I clearly pressed it flat. How did it bulge again? And this corner won't stand up at all. He turned his head to look at me, originally wanting to find some comfort. But the next second, his whole body froze. My blanket was already folded, square and proper, for edges perfectly straight. The 2 front corners looked as if they had been cut out with a knife. The bedsheet had also been pulled flat by me, without a single wrinkle. Wang Xuebing looked at my blanket, then looked at the lump on his own bed. His mouth opened wider and wider. Big brother." "What? When did you finish folding it?" "Just now." "Have you practiced before?" "No." "Then you learned it just by watching once." "More or less." Wang Xuebing walked over and reached out to touch the corner of the blanket. Then he quickly pulled his hand back, afraid he might damage it. "How is this more or less? You folded it even more standard than the squad leader." With that shout, the entire dormitory instantly went quiet. Everyone turned their heads in unison. Immediately afterward, a group of people all gathered around. "Damn, it really is a tofu block. How did you make this corner?" "Su Ming, did you serve before? Can a recruit serve twice? Then how does he know?" I glanced at the time. There are still 7 minutes. Everyone's expressions changed. "Brother Ming, save me. Teach me. Teach me first. My bed is already hopeless." Wang Xuebing grabbed my arm. "Big brother, we're bunkmates. You can't just watch me die." I pulled his hand away and walked directly to his bed. Stop making noise. Watch my movements. Spread the blanket flat first. Don't start folding randomly right away. I press down with one palm. Press this part firm. Mark the line here. The corner isn't pulled out by force. You have to support the inside first, then cut it with your hand. Wang Shuebing followed along. First time, crooked. Unfold it. Second time, still soft. Continue. On the third time, it finally took shape. Wang Shuebing's eyes lit up. It worked. Still far off. I pinched the blanket corner, lifted it upward, then quickly cut it flat. The originally limp corner immediately stood upright. The watching recruits were all stunned. You can do it like that? The squad leader seemed to do it like that just now too. I didn't see it clearly at all. Su Ming, slow down. Do it again. I was just about to speak when the dormitory door was suddenly pushed open. Zhang Lei stood in the doorway, his face icy. Time's up. Everyone instantly scattered and rushed back to their own beds. Zhang Lei walked into the dormitory and began inspecting from the first bed. The first bed looked like a steamed bun. He slapped it. The blanket collapsed directly. The third bed was even worse. Zhang Lei stared at it for 2 seconds, so furious he nearly cursed it out loud on the spot. He didn't actually say the specific words. He simply used the most direct possible tone to let that recruit know. If he folded it like that again, nobody was getting off easy today. Soon, he walked over to Wang Shuebing's bed. His movements paused for a moment. You folded this? Wang Shuebing immediately stood at attention. Report, squad leader, yes. Did someone help you? Wang Shuebing subconsciously glanced at me. I knew it. This kid couldn't hide anything. Zhang Lei followed his gaze and looked over. Then he saw my bed. At that moment, he fell silent. The dormitory was terrifyingly quiet too. A few seconds later, Zhang Lei walked to my bedside. He reached out and touched the surface of the quilt. Then he pinched the corners. Finally, he lowered his head and compared it with the quilt on his own bed. His expression began to look a little unnatural. Su Ming, here, you folded this quilt. Report, squad leader, yes. Learned it before? No. Really never? Really never. I looked at him and answered crisply. I watched your demonstration just now, and then I knew how to do it. A wave of suppressed gasps sounded around us. Zhang Lei stared at me. Clearly, he didn't quite believe it. But the quilt was right there. He couldn't find anything wrong with it. In fact, my edges and corners were even neater than his. Yesterday, I had beaten him on the track. Today, I had beaten him again in the housekeeping drill he was most familiar with. The corner of Zhang Lei's eye twitched. I could tell that, in his heart, another storm of curses had definitely erupted. But in the end, he only squeezed one sentence out through gritted teeth. Very good. Since you know how, don't just stand there. He turned and pointed at the whole squad. Next, you'll teach them. I'll inspect again in 10 minutes. If anyone still can't fold properly, you'll be punished together with him. Everyone looked at me. Wang Shuebing was the first to shout. Bro, we're counting on you. The others immediately followed. Brother Ming, save us. Teach me first. Mine is completely ruined already. Shut up, all of you. I rolled up my sleeves and walked to the center of the dormitory. If you want to pass, do exactly as I say. First, unfold all the quilts. Everyone froze. Unfold all of them. Yes. I swept my gaze over them. Start over from the beginning. This time, I guarantee all of you can fold them into shape. Wang Shuebing stared at the tofu block on my bed, then glanced at the unidentified lump on his own bed. His whole body seemed to wilt. Brother Ming, did you press your quilt with a mold or something? I smiled. It's not that exaggerated. Find the lines, press it firm, fold it over, then shape the corners. That's all. You make it sound easy. Wang Shuebing grabbed my arm, his face full of desperation. Teach me. When squad leader demonstrated earlier, my brain didn't keep up at all. If I keep folding like this, I might as well crawl into the quilt and play dead. Take it down. Right away. He immediately pulled the quilt down and spread it on the floor. I squatted down and got straight to work. First, spread it flat. Here. Yes. Press down with your arms and squeeze the air out. And then, find the line. Don't fold blindly based on feeling. Use the measurements. I grabbed the corner of the quilt and quickly folded it over. Watch closely. The edges must be aligned, and the lines must be straight. Finally, shape the corners. Don't use brute force. Use your knuckles to push them out. Wang Shuebing followed along and did it once. It was crooked. I directly unfolded it. Again. Huh. If you want breakfast, stop talking nonsense. Let's do it. He gritted his teeth and folded it again. This time, it finally looked somewhat decent. Just then, the system notification suddenly sounded. Ding. Congratulations to the host for achieving the Helping Comrades achievement. Reward: 100 military merit points. Random mission issued. Help your squad comrades master the quilt folding skill. For each person successfully helped, reward: 100 military merit points. My movements paused. Then I looked at Wang Shuebing. Teach one person, get 100 military merit points? These weren't comrades. They were clearly a group of treasures waiting for me to farm rewards. Brother Ming, what's wrong? Nothing. I patted his quilt. Continue. You must pass today. Outside the dormitory, Zhang Lei leaned against the wall and smoked. He said nothing, but his ears had been listening to the movement inside the entire time. When time was up, he stubbed out his cigarette and pushed the door open with a dark expression. Everyone, attention. Housekeeping inspection. The dormitory instantly fell silent. Zhang Lei walked to the first bed. With just one glance, his face darkened. What is this? The recruit lowered his head. Report, squad leader, a quilt. A quilt. Zhang Lei shook it open and threw it back onto the bed. I thought a dirt mound had grown on your bed. Fold it again. He turned to the next bed and slapped the quilt with his hand. It was ridiculously hard. Zhang Lei narrowed his eyes. Did you stuff something inside? That recruit's expression changed. Report, no. Zhang Lei reached in directly and pulled out 2 pieces of cardboard. You still dare play tricks with me? Suppressing his anger, he pointed at the recruit and gave him a scolding, then shook the entire quilt open. Fold it again. After that, the dormitory was filled with the sounds of quilts falling to the floor. Where's the line? Where are the corners? It's wrinkled like this, and you can actually bear to look at it? Zhang Lei cursed his way over to my bed, then suddenly stopped. He stared at my quilt and was silent for several seconds. You folded this? Report, squad leader, yes. He obviously didn't believe it. The next second, he directly unfolded my quilt and checked it inside and out. No cardboard. No water used to set the shape. It was simply folded normally. Zhang Lei looked at me. First time. Report, squad leader. First time folding it according to your method. The corner of his eye twitched. Fold it again. Yes. I got straight to it. Spread it flat, press it firm, mark the line, fold it over, shape the corners. The whole sequence was clean and sharp. In less than a minute, a standard tofu block reappeared on the bed. Zhang Lei said nothing, but the way he looked at me was already somewhat off. He probably had intended to find some fault with me, but he couldn't. Not only could he not find any fault, his expression also looked like I had shut him up on the spot. Afterward, he walked over to Wang Shuebing's bed. You folded this? Wang Shuebing immediately straightened his back. Report, squad leader, I folded it. You? Su Ming taught me. He guided me step by step, but I did it myself. Zhang Lei reached out and pinched the quilt corner, then looked at the edge lines. Although it wasn't as good as mine, it had already passed the qualifying standard. He stared at me, his expression becoming even more complicated. I could fold mine well, and I could even teach Wang Shuebing, this clumsy-handed guy, how to do it. That wasn't luck anymore. Zhang Lei turned around and swept his gaze across the squad. Except for Su Ming and Wang Shuebing, everyone else is unqualified. Everyone's faces instantly collapsed. Immediately afterward, Zhang Lei added coldly, in the army, if one person makes a mistake, the whole squad is punished. Everyone fold again. Wang Shuebing almost cried. Squad leader, I have to fold again too? Aren't you part of third squad? Yes. Then why are you asking? Yes. Wang Shuebing gritted his teeth and went to grab his quilt. I also unfolded the quilt I had just folded. Zhang Lei raised his hand and looked at the time. 5 minutes. If, after 5 minutes, even one person's quilt is unqualified, the whole squad will stand punishment outside the restroom. After the punishment, then you can eat breakfast. After saying that, he turned and left the dormitory. As soon as the door closed, the dormitory exploded. 5 minutes. We couldn't do it properly in 10. It's over. We're going to lose all face today. Standing punishment outside the restroom? That's too harsh. I suddenly clapped my hands. Shut up. Everyone looked at me at the same time. I pointed at the open space in the middle of the dormitory. If you want to eat, bring all your quilts over. Spread them out. I'll teach everyone together. Follow my movements in sync. Wang Xuebing was the first to move. Listen to Brother Ming. Hurry. The others no longer hesitated and immediately rushed over with their quilts. 10 quilts were spread out in a line. I stood at the very front. Step 1. Spread them all flat. Everyone began moving at the same time. Press with your arms. I'm not asking you to lie on top and sleep. Align the corners. Yes, right there. While giving commands, I moved through the crowd and corrected their movements. This line is crooked. Press it again. Don't force it. Fix one side first. Use skill when shaping the corners. Look at Wang Xuebing. Even he can learn it. What are you afraid of? When Wang Xuebing heard that, he immediately became unhappy. Brother Ming, if you want to praise people, just praise them. Why step on me too? Stop joking around. Keep folding. Okay. A light cough suddenly came from outside the door. Everyone's movement stiffened. Don't mind it. I continued giving orders. Everyone fold over. The dormitory started moving again. Outside the door, Zhang Lei did not come in. I knew he was standing there listening, but I had no time to care about him. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. One tofu block after another began taking shape. If someone's edge line wasn't straight, I directly helped him adjust it. If someone's quilt corner was too soft, I held his hand and taught him how to push it out. In the final 30 seconds, I swept my gaze over all the quilts. Wang Xuebing pressed the left side again. Lu Chang tightened the back edge. Everyone else, put your quilts back on the beds. Hurry. Footsteps instantly became chaotic. The moment 5 minutes were up, the dormitory door was pushed open. Zhang Lei walked in with a stern face. But when he clearly saw the quilts on each bed, his steps obviously slowed. 10 tofu blocks. Their levels varied, but all of them qualified. He inspected them one by one. No one in the dormitory spoke. Only after he finished checking the last quilt did he raise his head. Barely passed. Everyone's eyes lit up. Everyone. Target. Cafeteria. Yes. The roar almost lifted the roof. We lined up and walked out of the dormitory. Once we reached the corridor, I saw recruits from several other squads. Some were standing punishment by the wall. Some were standing outside the restroom, their faces terribly gloomy. The members of 3rd Squad immediately straightened their backs. Wang Xuebing leaned closer to me and lowered his voice. Brother Ming, thank goodness we had you. I glanced at him. Don't talk. Keep quiet in formation. Yes, Deputy Squad Leader. I'm not one yet. It's only a matter of time. In the cafeteria, our 3rd Squad was the first to arrive with everyone present. The squad leaders of the other squads looked at Zhang Lei with a bit of envy in their eyes. On the surface, Zhang Lei remained calm. But when he walked, his back was straighter than before. After breakfast, we went straight to the training ground. Zhang Lei stood in front of the formation, his roar echoing across the entire field. Attention! Everyone quickly brought their feet together. Heels together and aligned. Toes spread apart at about 60 degrees. Legs straight. Lower abdomen slightly tucked in. Chest out, head up, shoulders level. Fingers together, thumb against the second joint of the index finger, middle finger against the trouser seam. He explained everything from standing at attention to standing at ease, then from standing at ease to standing astride. After explaining, he started training us directly. Raise your hands higher. Straighten your back. Eyes forward. Don't glance around. Zhang Lei moved through the formation, correcting each person one by one. When he reached me, he scanned me up and down. His lips moved. In the end, he said nothing and walked away. Wang Xuebing was right beside me, holding back laughter. During a break in training, he whispered, Brother Ming, was squad leader trying to find fault with you just now? Shut up. He couldn't find any. Say one more word, and I'll help him find faults with you. Wang Xuebing instantly stood perfectly straight. My mistake. For the entire morning, we repeatedly practiced attention, at ease, and astride. Then we began learning the basics of marching in step, goose step, and running step. The sunlight on the training ground grew increasingly harsh. The air on the plateau was already thin, and once the sun beat down, everyone felt as if they were being roasted over a fire. Sweat quickly soaked through our training uniforms. But Zhang Lei showed no intention of stopping. Stand straight. If you can't even endure this bit of hardship, what kind of soldier are you? 10 minutes later, someone in a nearby squad suddenly collapsed. The medics immediately rushed over and carried him to a shaded area. Soon, more people couldn't hold on. Some people in third squad also began swaying. Zhang Lei swept his gaze over the formation and shouted sternly, "Hold steady. Anyone who dares move will train for 10 extra minutes." No one dared move. Wang Xuebing's legs had already begun trembling. He gritted his teeth and squeezed out a quiet sentence. "Brother Ming, I feel like my legs don't belong to me anymore." I stared straight ahead. "Hold on for 2 more minutes." "How do you know it's 2 minutes?" Squad leader looked at his watch. "Can we really rest?" "Even if you can't hold on, you still have to." I stood in place, my body not swaying in the slightest. After the system enhancement, this level of training wasn't much pressure for me. The veterans from several nearby squads had already noticed me. "That guy from third squad is Su Ming. I heard he ran 10 kilometers and even convinced Zhang Lei. This kid can really endure. Troublemaker or not, he's definitely good steel." Their discussion was very quiet, but I could hear it clearly. Soon, Zhang Lei finally gave the order. "Rest in place for 5 minutes." The formation instantly scattered. Quite a few people sat directly on the ground, clutching their legs and grimacing. Wang Xuebing plopped down and looked up at me. "Aren't you tired?" "I'm okay." "Okay." His face was full of grief and indignation. "I was about to meet my ancestors, and you tell me you're okay?" I ignored him and looked directly at Zhang Lei. "Report." "Speak." "Squad leader, when will we conduct live-fire shooting?" The surroundings instantly fell silent. Everyone raised their heads and looked eagerly at Zhang Lei. Zhang Lei's face darkened. "It's only the first day of training. You can't even stand military posture steadily yet, and you already want to touch a gun. If the foundation isn't solid, everything will collapse. Master formation and regulations first." I pressed further. "Then can we speed up the training progress?" Zhang Lei laughed in anger. "You brat haven't even learned how to crawl, and you're already thinking about flying? You think you've mastered all the basic subjects?" "Report, squad leader. I have already mastered them." "What about the housekeeping regulations?" "I've already memorized them." Zhang Lei's smile froze on the spot. "What did you say?" "Report, squad leader. I have already memorized all the housekeeping regulations." Everyone around us looked at me in unison. Zhang Lei walked up to me and stared into my eyes. "There's a price to pay for bragging. I accept the assessment." "Fine." Zhang Lei opened the regulations and casually pointed to a section. Chapter 14, Section 1. Recite. Without hesitation, I opened my mouth and began. Military songs carry the glorious traditions and fine conduct of our army, and are an important component of the cultural life of the troops. After I finished the passage, Zhang Lei's expression changed. He immediately switched to another section. Chapter 20, Section 3. Military personnel shall comply with confidentiality regulations. Chapter 8. I continued reciting. He tested me on several sections in succession, even deliberately choosing the most obscure provisions. I answered all of them fluently. Not a single word was wrong. The training ground was frighteningly quiet. Wang Xuebing's mouth hung open. After a long while, he finally squeezed out one sentence. "Is that still a human brain?" Zhang Lei closed the regulations. He looked at me and was silent for a few seconds, as if forcibly suppressing the urge to curse. "Su Ming, I admit your individual ability is very strong. But third squad is a collective. You learn quickly, but that doesn't mean everyone else can keep up. If I speed up the whole squad's progress for your sake, what about the others?" I immediately replied. "Report, squad leader. I'm not asking the whole squad to speed up. What I mean is, arrange more advanced training specifically for me. When the others are practicing the basics, I can continue practicing the basics while adding new subjects. That way, it won't affect the group." Zhang Lei was momentarily stumped by my words. He wanted to refute me, but couldn't find a reason. After a few seconds, he finally spoke. "This isn't something I can decide on my own. I'll report it to the platoon leader. You continue resting." He turned and walked away. As soon as Zhang Lei left, the members of third squad immediately crowded around. "Brother Ming, did you really memorize the whole regulation book? Do you have a photographic memory? We all have one head. Why is yours different from ours?" Wang Xuebing patted my shoulder. "I said it long ago. Brother Ming isn't an ordinary person." Another recruit suddenly said, "Let Su Ming be deputy squad leader." "Right. He teaches in more detail than squad leader. and his movements are standard too. If he becomes deputy squad leader, I accept it. I accept it too. Everyone became more and more enthusiastic as they spoke. I looked at them, and my heart stirred a little. Deputy squad leader? That did sound pretty good. On the other side, Zhang Lei had already rushed into platoon leader Chen Yang's office. Are you sure? Chen Yang suddenly stood up. In one day, he memorized the entire housekeeping regulation book. Absolutely true. Zhang Lei looked helpless. I randomly tested him, and he didn't miss a single word. He also learns movements after watching them once. Platoon leader Chen, if we keep making him grind through the basics with the main group, it really is a waste of time. Chen Yang tapped the table and soon made a decision. Let him be 3rd Squad's deputy squad leader. Zhang Lei froze. Deputy squad leader? Yes. Have him assist you in managing daily training and housekeeping. You'll be responsible for supervising him. At the same time, you spare time to teach him tactical fundamentals and small arms theory ahead of schedule. Chen Yang stared at Zhang Lei. I want to see exactly where this kid's ceiling is. Yes. Before long, Zhang Lei returned to the training ground. Fall in. We quickly formed up. Zhang Lei stood in front of the formation and announced directly. After the platoon's discussion and decision, Comrade Su Ming will serve as deputy squad leader of 3rd Squad. He will be responsible for assisting me in managing housekeeping and organizing basic training. Does anyone have any objections? Report. Wang Xuebing was the first to roar. Speak. I have no objections. I firmly support it. I support it too. If Su Ming becomes deputy squad leader, I'm convinced. We're all convinced. Not a single person in 3rd Squad opposed it. Zhang Lei glanced at me and formally said, starting now, Comrade Su Ming will serve as deputy squad leader of 3rd Squad. The system notification sounded at the same time. Ding. Congratulations to the host for achieving the first appointment as cadre achievement. Reward, 500 military merit points. 500 military merit points were deposited. My heart felt delighted. This deputy squad leader position was worth it. Zhang Lei walked up to me. Su Ming. Here. Being deputy squad leader isn't for you to show off authority. You have to lead training well, and even more importantly, manage the whole squad well. Can you do it? I straightened my back. I guarantee completion of the mission. Good. Zhang Lei looked at the others. Starting today, after regular training ends every day, I will arrange extra training. Everyone can participate. As long as your training subjects for the day meet the full standard, you'll be qualified to learn the next stage's content in advance. Everyone had been excited just a moment ago, but when they heard the words extra training, the entire group instantly fell silent. Wang Xuebing quietly asked me, Deputy Squad Leader, can we skip the extra training? I looked at him. First get today's subjects up to standard. Then I'm relieved. What do you mean? I estimate I won't be qualified to go. I almost laughed from anger. After the break ended, I directly took over the basic training. Everyone, attention. Everyone quickly stood properly. I walked up to Wang Xuebing and raised my hand to adjust his arm. A little higher. Here. Yes. Hold it. It's sore. If it's sore, that means it's right. I turned to another person. Don't just exert force with your elbow. Drive it with your shoulder. Your kicks need explosive power. Raise it. Hold for 5 seconds. Lift your head. Don't let your gaze look weak. As I corrected them, I personally demonstrated. Seeing me train together with them, those who had originally wanted to slack off felt too embarrassed to loosen up. Zhang Lei stood not far away, watching the whole process. Less than half an hour into training, 3rd Squad's movements were already visibly more coordinated than before. His expression became increasingly complicated. Finally, he walked to my side and lowered his voice. You really were never a soldier before? Report, Squad Leader, no. Never practiced formations either? No. Zhang Lei stared at me for a few seconds. He looked like he wanted to curse a few times, but in the end, he forcibly held it in and only squeezed out one sentence. Unbelievable. I looked at the formation. Squad Leader, Wang Xuebing's arm swing is still not standard. Wang Xuebing's expression stiffened. Brother Ming, no, Deputy Squad Leader, I supported you just now. That's why I have to be responsible for you. I pointed to the front of the formation. Step out. Practice alone 20 times. Wang Xuebing looked miserable. Can it be fewer? 25 times. I'll do it. 20 times. I'll do it right now. The members of third squad couldn't help laughing. My face darkened. What are you laughing at? He made a mistake alone. Are you very happy? Everyone immediately shut up. I raised my hand and pointed at the whole squad. Everyone, arm swing practice 20 times. Not one person less. Wang Shuabing froze. The others froze too. I walked to the very front of the formation and raised my arm first. Don't forget, we are one squad. If we train together. After a brief silence, everyone raised their arms at the same time. Yes, their movements were neat, and their roars shook the air. Not far away, Zhang Lei watched this scene and was completely speechless. Strong individual ability, good at teaching others, able to win the crowd's support, and he had collective awareness. How was this a recruit who needed him to worry? This was clearly an elite soldier heaven had directly stuffed into his hands. Zhang Lei folded his arms. The corners of his mouth pressed down several times, but he still couldn't suppress them. This kid, making him deputy squad leader really was the right call. Right after dinner ended, Zhang Lei was already waiting at the dormitory entrance. Su Ming, come out. Extra training. Yes. I followed him to the horizontal bar area beside the barracks. Zhang Lei patted the horizontal bar and got straight to the point. Attention, at ease, the 3 major marching steps, formation changes. You've practiced all of them pretty well. Tonight, we'll switch to something else, abdominal bar circles. I looked at the horizontal bar and felt somewhat disappointed. That's it. Zhang Lei didn't notice my expression and continued explaining seriously. Don't underestimate this movement. Infantrymen have to ride armored vehicles and transport trucks in the future. Once those things start bouncing, they can shake your organs apart. Abdominal bar circles train arm strength, core strength, and vestibular function. Once you've trained it well, you won't get carsick as easily. Understood. I'll demonstrate first. Watch carefully. He leaped up and grabbed the bar, straightened his arms, pressed his abdomen against the bar, and flipped his body over cleanly. 1 circle, 2 circles. After several circles, he landed easily. Grip at shoulder width, tighten your core, use your waist and abdomen, and swing your legs forward for momentum. Don't be afraid. I'll spot you from the side. Squad leader, no actually. Up. I had no choice but to shut up. I jumped, grabbed the bar, supported myself, and rotated. The whole sequence had no pause at all. After completing 1 circle, I released my hands with the momentum and landed steadily. Zhang Lei stared at me, the corner of his mouth twitching twice. You know how? A little. You call this a little? Squad leader, you were explaining so seriously just now that I felt too embarrassed to interrupt. You? He held it in for a long time, but still couldn't get the next sentence out. Finally, he walked to the side, lit a cigarette, and took 2 drags before suppressing his emotions. Knowing the movement doesn't count as ability. Yes. The key is the number. Understood. For recruits, doing 6 in a row counts as passing. For veterans, 12 counts as passing. As for me, Zhang Lei puffed out his chest. 80. I immediately nodded. Squad leader, impressive. The corner of his mouth clearly lifted, but he deliberately waved his hand. SOSO. The strongest guy in our company can do 150 in one go. He's number 1 in the whole company, and even in the entire regiment, he's an elite. 150. That's right. If you can surpass him in the future, you'll have a chance to represent the regiment in the military region competition. If you get into the top 3, there's even hope for a 3rd-class merit. Hearing 3rd-class merit, I immediately looked at him. Squad leader, how do you earn merit? Why are you suddenly asking this? I want to earn merit. My answer was very direct. Zhang Lei looked at me for a few seconds, then laughed. You've got quite the ambition, kid. Ever heard that saying? 3rd-class merit is received standing, 2nd-class merit is received lying down, 1st-class merit is received by the family. I didn't speak. His tone also sank. 3rd-class merit can still be achieved through major missions, military competitions, or outstanding performance. 2nd-class merit often requires paying a huge price. As for 1st-class merit, he shook his head. Many times, it's exchanged with one's life. I clenched my hands. In the past, when I saw soldiers earning merit in the news, I only felt that it was an honor. Now, I truly understood. A military medal wasn't just metal. Behind it could be sweat, blood, or an entire life. Zhang Lei patted my shoulder. Don't be frightened. With your qualities, if you train properly, Third-class merit may not be impossible. He pointed at the horizontal bar. Don't think too far ahead. First, train your abdominal bar circles to 100. Then we'll talk about military region competitions. 100 is enough. Do it first, then talk. Fine. I turned and walked toward the horizontal bar. Zhang Lei froze. You're trying now? Otherwise. I jumped up, grabbed the bar, braced my arms, and directly began. First circle. Second circle. Third circle. Zhang Lei stood beside me with his arms folded. At first, he was still very calm. Don't let the movement deform. Tighten your core. Maintain the rhythm. By the time I reached more than 20, several faces had appeared by the dormitory window. Wang Xuebing leaned there and counted quietly. 23. 24. Deputy squad leader trained for a whole day and still has strength? I heard this thing is insanely hard. 6 is passing. 6? Brother Ming is almost at 30. Zhang Lei suddenly turned his head. What are you hiding there for? If you want to watch, get over here. Stop sneaking around. Several people immediately rushed downstairs and stood neatly to the side. Listen clearly. People from our third squad do things openly and properly. Yes. They answered loudly, but their eyes were all fixed on me. 38. 42. 50. The ease on Zhang Lei's face disappeared. I did not stop. 60. 80. When he heard the number 80, Wang Xuebing subconsciously glanced at Zhang Lei. Zhang Lei's expression stiffened. What are you looking at me for? Keep counting. 81. 82. My movements did not deform. My breathing was also very steady. Soon, the number broke through 100. 100. Wang Xuebing's voice cracked from shouting. The people beside him also exploded. He really reached 100. He already surpassed squad leader, right? Zhang Lei suddenly glared over. That person immediately shut up. Zhang Lei did not scold them again. He only stared fixedly at me. 120. 140. 149. The air seemed to grow tense. Everyone knew the company record was right ahead. 150. I rotated through another circle without stopping. 151. Wang Xuebing practically roared it. Broken. The members of third squad instantly boiled over. The company record was broken. Brother Ming really broke it. Zhang Lei's mouth hung open for a long time without closing. But I was still continuing. 152. 160. 200. The higher the number got, the quieter the surroundings became. At first, they had still been shouting. Later, no one could shout anymore. Only Wang Xuebing was left mechanically calling out the count. 287. 301. 320. Zhang Lei stared at me, his entire face seeming to say one sentence. What kind of monster is this? 331. 332. 333. I felt my arms becoming sore, and my waist and abdomen were also beginning to tighten, so I simply stopped. I let go, landed. The moment my feet touched the ground, Zhang Lei rushed up in one stride to support me. Are you dizzy? No. Do you want to vomit? No. What about your arms? Your waist? Is anywhere uncomfortable? Just a little tired. I took 2 breaths, then stood straight. Zhang Lei checked me up and down. After confirming I was fine, he directly raised his hand and pointed at me, so excited that his voice was trembling. 333. After you came down, you're just a little tired? More or less. You kid. His emotions completely lost control. The urge to curse was written all over his face, but in the end, he only squeezed out one sentence. You really are a monster. I wiped off some sweat. Squad leader, do I have a chance to participate in the military region competition? Yes. This time, Zhang Lei didn't hesitate at all. Absolutely. He patted my shoulder hard. As long as you don't mess up in later training, and there are no issues with your political review, representing the whole regiment in the military region competition is basically a done deal. Really, I'll vouch for it. His eyes were even more excited than mine. That's enough for tonight. Go back and rest immediately. I'm going to find the platoon leader. As soon as he finished speaking, he turned and ran off. His steps so quick they seemed to carry wind. I looked at his back, then looked at the horizontal bar. 333. It didn't seem that difficult. Wang Xuebing, however, refused to believe it. Brother Ming, is this movement really that hard? Try it. Fine, I'll try. He rolled up his sleeves and jumped up to grab the horizontal bar. Then his whole body just hung there. His face turned red. His arms began trembling. Push yourself up, I reminded him. I'm pushing. He desperately swung his body, but his grip slipped, and he nearly fell. Two people beside him quickly caught him. After Wang's shoe-ebbing landed, his face was pale. He looked back at me, then at the horizontal bar, and directly raised his thumb. Brother Ming, 333. You are seriously ridiculous. Just then, the familiar notification sounded in my mind. Ding. Congratulations to the host for breaking the regimental record for abdominal bar circles achievement. Reward, 500 military merit points. My eyes lit up. Regimental record? This reward came at exactly the right time. Late at night, snores sounded continuously in the dormitory. I lay on my bed, not asleep. With a thought, the attribute panel immediately appeared before my eyes. Host, Su Ming. Position, Deputy Squad Leader of 3rd Squad, 1st Platoon, Recruit Company. Military rank, none. Strength, 12. Speed, 12. Reaction, 12. Skills, none. Military merit points, 2,200. I looked at military rank, none, and felt somewhat helpless. Right now, I couldn't even be considered a private yet. However, 2,200 military merit points were already enough for 2 lottery draws. I couldn't afford the good items in the shop for now. Then I might as well gamble. System lottery draw. This lottery draw will consume 1,000 military merit points. Confirm. Confirm. Ding. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the skill, Firearms Mastery. As the notification fell, a massive amount of information instantly surged into my mind. Firearm structures, maintenance and upkeep, ballistic calculations, rapid disassembly and assembly, shooting corrections under different distances, wind speeds, and environments. All the knowledge seemed to be forcibly engraved into my memory. As long as I was given a gun, I would be able to use it, and I would be able to use it very well. I suppressed my excitement. Draw again. This lottery draw will consume 1,000 military merit points. Confirm. Confirm. Ding. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the skill, Combat Mastery. A warm current flowed through my entire body. Punching, kicking, locking techniques, throws, joint control, vital point defense. All kinds of combat skills rapidly fused into my muscles. I raised my hand. My 5 fingers tightened. At this moment, I was certain. The current me didn't only possess strength. I also knew how to smash that strength into an enemy in the fastest, most ruthless way possible. Worth it. I turned over and got out of bed, quietly walked into the bathroom, and lit a cigarette. Taking advantage of the fact that no one was around, I lowered my body and quickly threw 2 punches. The wind from my fists was very light, but the movements were both fast and ruthless. Then I turned, raised my leg, and retracted it. There were no unnecessary movements. If someone had been standing opposite me, that kick would already have smashed into his ribs. You brat, not sleeping in the middle of the night. What are you doing here? A voice suddenly sounded from behind me. I immediately lowered my leg and turned around. Zhang Lei was standing there with his arms folded, looking at me. Squad leader. I asked you a question. Having a cigarette and using the bathroom. I answered very naturally. Zhang Lei looked at the cigarette in my mouth, and the corner of his mouth started twitching again. Su Ming, you're the deputy squad leader now. Yes. You need to pay attention to your influence. Understood. What will the other recruits think if they see you? If you take the lead in violating the scheduled discipline, can they follow your example too? I immediately pinched out the cigarette. Squad leader, I'll pay attention next time. After saying that, I pulled out a Huazi and handed it over. Would you like one? Zhang Lei didn't take it. He first glanced left and right. Then he lowered his voice. Come with me. I followed him around to the back door of the dormitory building. There were miscellaneous items piled up there. The location was secluded, the lighting was dim, and generally no one came over. Only then did Zhang Lei take the cigarette and skillfully light it. Remember this place. Got it. If you really can't hold back in the future, come here. Don't wander around the bathroom and get caught. If that happens, even I won't be able to protect you. Understood. Thank you, squad leader. Zhang Lei exhaled a mouthful of smoke and changed the subject. I've already reported the fact that you did 333 abdominal bar circles to the platoon leader. What did the platoon leader say? He almost thought I was bragging. I laughed. And then he decided to apply for outstanding recruit for you. I immediately became energized. Can outstanding recruit earn merit? The mouthful of smoke Zhang Lei had just inhaled almost choked him. Why is your head full of earning merit? I want to become stronger, and I also want to move up. Direct enough. He glared at me, but he wasn't truly angry. Outstanding recruit is a company-level honor. It can't compare to third-class merit, but it will benefit you later when you're assigned to a company, evaluated for honors, and cultivated. Then I'm definitely taking it. Big words. Squad leader, didn't you say I have the ability? Zhang Lei was left speechless by my words. In the end, he raised his hand and pointed at me. Fine. Keep it up. Don't suddenly mess up one day. I won't. Finish your cigarette and go back to sleep. Just as he finished speaking, two more people slipped in from around the corner. First squad leader. Second squad leader. Both sides looked at each other, and the air went quiet for 1 second. I immediately stood at attention. Hello, squad leaders. Su Ming. First squad leader recognized me. Second squad leader smiled and asked, You brat know about this place too? Just found out. I took out my cigarettes and handed one to each of them, then gave Zhang Lei another one. Squad leaders, have one. The two of them exchanged glances, both amused. If an ordinary recruit dared to sneak over in the middle of the night and offer cigarettes to veterans, they would have darkened their faces and scolded him long ago. But they still accepted them. First squad leader patted my shoulder. You brat, you're pretty good at handling things. Squad leaders, please continue chatting. I'll go back and rest first. I didn't stay long and turned to leave. After walking a few steps, I heard voices behind me. Old third, what kind of luck did you run into? It was first squad leader. Su Ming's strength is frightening, and his brain is flexible too. Your third squad really picked up a treasure. Second squad leader immediately asked. I heard he did 333 abdominal bar circles. Is that true? Zhang Lei's voice immediately grew a little louder. Absolutely true. I was watching right beside him. Not one circle was missing. The most ridiculous thing is, after he came down, he wasn't dizzy or nauseous. He was just a little out of breath. After a brief silence, first squad leader let out a heavy sigh. How did this kind of soldier not get assigned to my squad? Old third, you can probably wake up laughing even in your sleep now, huh? My steps didn't stop, but the corner of my mouth lifted. At the same time, I slowly clenched my fist. Breaking the abdominal bar circle record was only the beginning. Firearms mastery, combat mastery, military region competition, and military merit. Since I had put on this uniform, I would not be just an ordinary soldier. I wanted to compete. I wanted to win. I wanted everyone to remember. My name was Su Ming. The next day, the news that I had broken the abdominal bar circle record spread throughout the entire recruit company. People discussed it on the training ground. People discussed it in the cafeteria. Even before lights out at night, recruits from other squads were still asking about my name from across the corridor. 333? Is that real? It's real. Third squad leader counted it himself. I tried 2 yesterday, and my arms almost went useless. What's 2? I barely made 1 circle and almost fell headfirst to my death. Squad leader said even a veteran who can do 50 is considered impressive. Then what does Su Ming count as? A monster. Someone added in a lowered voice. I heard that in the light-equipped 10-kilometer run, even third squad leader couldn't beat him. Now, the discussion became even louder. The recruits looked at me as if they were looking at an anomaly. The veterans looked at me with more complicated eyes. Because compared with the recruits, they understood more clearly what 333 meant. Physical ability, strength, endurance. Lacking even one would make it impossible. And I was only a recruit who had enlisted less than half a month ago. After training began, I didn't take those discussions seriously. Third squad, halt turn movements. Again, I stood in front of the formation and directly gave commands. Right turn. Swish. 7 people turned. 6 of them faced the correct direction. 1 was facing me. I looked at him. He looked at me too. Zhou Qiang. Here. Are you planning to train face-to-face with me? Someone in the formation couldn't hold it in, and his shoulders trembled. Zhou Qiang's face reddened, and he quickly turned around. Deputy squad leader, my brain cramped just now. Then untie the knot. Whole squad, 10 more times. Huh. I looked at him. Any objections? No. Zhou Qiang immediately straightened his back and growled at the others. None of you laugh. Whoever laughs does 10 extra. You're pretty good at making arrangements. Squad leader Zhang Lei walked over from behind and raised his hand to smack the back of his head. It wasn't heavy, but it was enough to make him shut up. Zhang Lei placed his hands behind his back, circled the formation once, and finally stopped beside me. Su Ming, keep leading. Yes. His mouth remained serious, but the corners of his lips couldn't be held down no matter what. Several squad leaders nearby looked over. One of them directly cursed, his tone dripping with jealousy. Old Zhang, you're quite relaxed now. Zhang Lei glanced at him. No way around it. I trained my soldier well. You trained him? Was it you then? That squad leader choked until his face turned dark, then turned around and roared at the recruits in his own squad. What are you all looking at? He can do 333, and you can't even tell left from right. Keep training. The entire training ground instantly became lively. Just then, two figures appeared at the edge of the field. First platoon leader Chen Yang walked behind. Walking in front was a captain with dark skin and a sturdy build. He didn't speak. He only stared at me. That gaze was sharp, as if he was weighing a freshly forged weapon. Company commander, that's him. Chen Yang raised his hand and pointed at me. The captain looked me up and down a few times. Tall enough. Frame isn't bad either. Just a bit thin. He didn't lower his voice when speaking. Can such a small frame really do 333? Absolutely true. Chen Yang answered quickly. Third squad leader personally counted it. Previously, in the 10-kilometer cross-country run, Zhang Lei was also left far behind by him. When Zhang Lei heard that sentence, the pride on his face froze. I almost laughed out loud. When it came to exposing someone's embarrassing moments, it had to be the platoon leader. The captain, however, smiled. Interesting. He walked toward us. Zhang Lei recognized his face, and his body instantly tensed. Company commander? The captain ignored him and directly ordered Chen Yang. Fall them in. Yes. Chen Yang turned around, and his voice suddenly exploded. Everyone fall in. Each squad immediately stopped training. Footsteps instantly rang out in a chaotic rush. Quick, run, dress ranks, count off. In less than a minute, all 81 recruits had assembled into formation. I stood in third squad's line and looked ahead. Chen Yang ran out of the formation, stood at attention, and saluted. Report, company commander. Recruit company should have 81 present. Actually has 81 present. Awaiting instructions. The captain returned the salute. At ease. Swish. The sound of movement landed neatly. He swept his gaze over the entire field before speaking. My name is Li Chuan. I am the company commander of Border Defense 5th Regiment's Reconnaissance 7th Company, and also the company commander of this recruit company. Originally, I should have come on your first day of enlistment, but I didn't. His voice sank. Because I looked down on the way you were back then. The formation was completely silent. You couldn't stand in formation properly. You couldn't walk steadily. You were staggered all over by altitude sickness. At that time, you didn't count as soldiers. His gaze swept across every face. Now, after training for a few days, you finally have a bit of shape. But only a bit. Only after you endure 3 months of recruit training and put military rank on your shoulders will you be qualified to say you are soldiers. Li Chuan took 2 steps forward. Is being a soldier hard? No one answered. His voice suddenly rose. I'm asking you, is being a soldier hard? Hard. 81 voices sounded at the same time. Being a border defense soldier on a plateau over 4,000 meters above sea level, is it hard? Hard. Then why does someone still have to come? The entire field fell silent for an instant. Li Chuan raised his hand and pointed into the distance. Because this place must be guarded by someone. If we don't come, who will? If we don't stand here, who will stand here and shield the people behind us? His speaking speed wasn't fast, but his voice was like heavy hammer blows, smashing into everyone's chest one after another. For the training that comes next, all of you better show your real ability. If you want to prove yourself, fight for it. If you want to be an elite, train. If you want to enter the strongest company in the entire regiment, then come to my Reconnaissance 7th Company. As soon as he said that, quite a few people's eyes lit up. Li Chuan did not hide his pride at all. Reconnaissance 7th Company is the sharp blade of Border Defense 5th Regiment. The hardest missions in the entire regiment, we take them. The most dangerous places, we go there. Whether you can enter 7th Company doesn't depend on whether you can say pretty words. It only depends on whether you're strong enough. I'll say this first. The weak, 7th company doesn't want. The fearful, 7th company doesn't want. Those who can endure, 7th company wants even less. I stared at him, and only one thought remained in my mind. Reconnaissance, 7th company. I wanted to go. But right now, was I qualified? The next second, the system notification sounded directly. Limited time mission issued. Publicly challenge Reconnaissance 7th Company Commander Li Chuan and compete with him in combat. Mission completion reward, 500 military merit points. Mission failure, no penalty. My gaze sharpened. Challenge the company commander in public? This wasn't asking me to stand out. This was asking me to ram myself into the muzzle. But 500 military merit points were right in front of me. Besides, I really did want to know how far I was from the top combat power of Reconnaissance 7th Company. As for whether it was arrogant, if your strength was insufficient, that was called arrogance. If your strength was enough, that was called confidence. I took a breath and spoke directly. Report. My voice spread across the training ground. Everyone looked at me at the same time. Zhang Lei's eyelid jumped violently. Li Chuan also looked over. Speak. Company commander, you said Reconnaissance 7th Company is the strongest in the entire regiment. That's right. I want to know exactly how strong. The surroundings instantly fell silent. Qinyang glanced at me. Zhang Lei's face directly darkened. That look was clearly asking, what are you brat planning to do now? Li Chuan, however, laughed. You are Su Ming? Yes. I know you. He stared at me, his tone gaining a bit more scrutiny. 333 abdominal bar circles. 10-kilometer cross-country run, beating your squad leader. Your physical ability is indeed pretty good. Zhang Lei's face turned even darker. It seemed there was no getting past this hurdle today. Li Chuan changed the subject. But I'll tell you, a reconnaissance soldier isn't someone who only knows how to run or do a few horizontal bar movements. Combat, shooting, tactics, infiltration, field survival, not one can be lacking. With physical ability alone, you can't enter 7th Company. I met his gaze. Company commander, I have a request. Speak. I want to compete with you in combat. As soon as the words fell, the entire training ground went deathly silent. A few seconds later, a wave of suppressed gasps sounded from the formation. Is he crazy? That's the company commander. And a reconnaissance company commander. The veterans' expressions changed too. Some glared at me. Some gritted their teeth, as if holding back curses. Zhang Lei was the first to rush in front of me. Su Ming. His voice was stern. Do you know what you're saying? I know. Apologize to the company commander. I stood at attention and saluted Li Chuan. I'm sorry, company commander. I meant no offense. Zhang Lei had just let out a breath of relief when I immediately continued. But I still want to compete. His expression froze on the spot. I continued. If challenging you is inappropriate, we can switch to another combat expert from 7th Company. Zhang Lei stared at me, the corner of his mouth twitching hard twice. Suppressing his anger, he nearly squeezed his words out through his teeth. You brat are determined to find someone to beat you up today, aren't you? Qinyang stepped forward. Company commander, let me do it. He moved his wrist. I'll spar with this recruit and let him understand that good physical ability doesn't equal knowing combat. No need. Li Chuan raised his hand and stopped him. Afterward, he walked in front of me. Standing close, I could feel the pressure on him even more clearly. It didn't come from rank. It came from countless real combat experiences and training sessions. He looked at me and suddenly smiled. Su Ming, you're using provocation. Report, company commander, I wouldn't dare. Your mouth says you wouldn't dare, but you haven't done one thing less. Some people around us held back laughter. Li Chuan took off his military cap and handed it to Qinyang. However, I'll take the bait. Zhang Lei became anxious. Company commander, he only just enlisted. A short enlistment time doesn't mean he isn't qualified to throw punches. Li Chuan interrupted him. Soldiers with ability all have thorns on them. Thorns aren't frightening. What's frightening is having no ability, yet still thinking you're number one under heaven. He turned to look at me. Su Ming, fists and feet have no eyes. I won't stand there and let you hit me just because you're a recruit. Have you thought it through? I took a step forward. Report, company commander, I've thought it through. Please instruct me. The crowd immediately scattered. Very soon, an empty circle appeared in the center of the training ground. Li Chuan and I stood 5 meters apart. There were people all around us. The recruits were so excited their faces had turned red. The veterans, however, were very quiet. Clearly, they all knew Li Chuan's strength. Zhang Lei pulled me to the side and lowered his voice. It's not too late to regret it now. Squad leader, I won't lose too badly. You still want to win? He laughed in anger because of me. Do you know what background the company commander has? No. Second place in the military region combat competition. He was promoted to officer through his results. Zhang Lei glared at me. Those veterans in 7th Company are prouder than the next. The company commander can keep them suppressed not with his voice, but with his fists. Understood. Good that you understand. That makes it even more worth fighting. Zhang Lei froze. I had already walked into the circle. He stood in place, his expression changing for a while. Finally, he cursed softly, his tone full of disappointment towards someone who failed to live up to expectations. This kid really isn't afraid of being beaten. Li Chuan loosened his shoulders, and his neck made 2 crisp sounds. Then he took a defensive stance and beckoned to me. Kid, come. Don't disappoint me. I spread my feet, my body sinking slightly. Company commander, excuse me. As soon as my words fell, I charged straight forward. No probing. No circling. The first move was full force. I pushed off the ground, twisted my waist, turned my hips, and swept out a vicious right roundhouse kick straight toward his chest and abdomen. Whoosh! The wind from my leg tore through the air. Li Chuan did not dodge. He crossed his arms, preparing to take it head-on. Bang! The collision exploded. The moment the instep of my foot touched his arms, his expression changed. The next second, his entire body was kicked backward by me. 1 step, 3 steps, 5 steps. He retreated 7 or 8 steps in a row, then slammed his right foot into the ground before finally stabilizing himself. The entire field was completely silent. Everyone stared at Li Chuan, then at me. Someone's mouth hung open for a long time without making a sound. The eyes of several veterans were even opened round. The company commander was kicked back 7 or 8 steps. What kind of strength is that? The next second, the recruit formation directly exploded. Good. Su Ming, beautiful. That kick was too ruthless. Cheers suddenly surged up. Zhang Lei stood at the front of the crowd. He had originally been wearing a stern face, but now the corners of his mouth could no longer be held down. A squad leader beside him looked at him. Old Zhang, what are you smiling about? I'm not smiling. Your mouth is almost stretched to your ears. Less nonsense. Watch the match. In the circle, Li Chuan shook out his numb arms. The casual look from his face had already disappeared. He looked at me again. This time, his gaze truly became serious. Kid, here. What great strength. Thank you for the praise, company commander. I haven't finished praising you. Li Chuan reset his stance. Your strength is enough. Next, let me see whether you can touch me. I did not answer. With a push of my foot, I charged again. A straight punch blasted toward his face. He tilted his head and dodged. I immediately followed with a left hook. He raised his arm to block. Bang! Our arms collided, and his body swayed slightly. I took advantage and pressed closer, launching a low sweep straight at his supporting leg. Li Chuan quickly raised his knee to block. Another dull sound rang out. His brows tightened. I didn't give him a chance to open up distance. Fists, elbows, knees, legs, everything I could use, I used. Bang, bang, bang. The collision sounds rang out continuously. I fought fast, and even more ruthlessly. There were no complicated routines. As long as I found an opportunity, I pressed forward. Li Chuan blocked continuously and kept retreating. The more the onlookers watched, the more excited they became. Su Ming is suppressing the company commander? That's too fierce. Why isn't the company commander fighting back? Someone from the veteran's side immediately shouted. Shut up. The company commander is observing his patterns. I also understood this point. Although Li Chuan seemed to be suppressed by me, his footwork was not chaotic. Every time he retreated, he defended very steadily. Every place my fist landed was blocked by him in advance. He was waiting for my stamina to drop, waiting for my offensive to slow down, waiting for me to reveal an opening. Another heavy punch smashed down. Li Chuan turned sideways to avoid it and suddenly spoke. Your strength is very strong. Your speed isn't slow either. But your punches are too messy. As he spoke, his right hand suddenly locked onto my wrist. My heart tightened, and I immediately tried to pull my hand back. Too late. Li Chuan stepped forward, drove his shoulder into my chest, and at the same time used his right leg to trap my lower body. He was going to throw me down. He suddenly exerted force. My body instantly lost balance. A wave of exclamations sounded around us. Li Chuan's eyes sharpened, thinking he had already seized the opportunity. But at the instant I was about to leave the ground, my left foot stomped hard onto the ground, and my waist and abdomen suddenly tightened. He continued exerting force. But I only swayed once. I did not fall. Li Chuan's expression changed again. I looked at him, who was close at hand, and grinned. Company commander, your opportunity seems a little unstable. After saying that, I grabbed his waist in return. The strength in my entire body erupted at the same time. This time, it was my turn to throw him. The side of the field was deathly silent. Punch after punch, I forced Li Chuan to keep retreating. He blocked very steadily. At least in other people's eyes, he was steady. Zhang Lei lowered his voice. Platoon leader Chun, this kid fights this fiercely too? Qinyang stared at me and quickly judged. Strong power, but no system. Completely relying on brute force. If he keeps fighting like this, his stamina won't last long. The company commander's footing isn't chaotic. As long as he catches an opportunity, he'll be able to counterattack immediately. I almost laughed out loud. No system? Those openings were all deliberately exposed by me. Every time Li Chuan wanted to counterattack, I immediately changed moves, and my fist directly sealed off his route. If he moved left, I pressed left. If he wanted to close in, I forced him back with a knee strike. The moment he seized an opportunity, my next punch had already smashed in front of him. If I really used all my combat skills, this match would have ended long ago. But I couldn't do that. A recruit who had never received systematic training suddenly displaying expert-level combat ability. Who wouldn't suspect something? Great strength could be said to be natural. Fast reactions could be said to be instinct. But if my technique was too strong, it couldn't be explained. So, I only fought with the shell of brute force while using the rhythm of an expert. I had to suppress Li Chuan, but I also couldn't let him lose too badly. Even more, I couldn't truly beat the company commander down. After dozens of punches, sweat had already appeared on Li Chuan's forehead. His breathing was disrupted. His defense was also half a beat slower. The opportunity had arrived. I suddenly stepped forward, throwing a punch straight toward his chest. Li Chuan had just raised both arms when the edge of my fist had already torn through his defense. Half an inch farther, and he would definitely retreat. With 2 more points of force, he would go down. But I suddenly pulled back my fist, retreated, and directly jumped out of the fighting circle. Company commander, I admit defeat. The entire field instantly went silent. Li Chuan froze. Qinyang froze. Zhang Lei and the group of recruits were all dumbfounded too. I deliberately panted a few times, showing frustration on my face, then cupped my fists toward Li Chuan with eyes full of admiration. Company commander, you're too strong. No matter how I attacked, I couldn't break through your defense. If we kept fighting, I definitely wouldn't be able to hold on. I'm convinced. Admit defeat? Of course I wasn't really admitting defeat. This was leaving the leader a way down. It was also leaving room for myself. If I truly beat the company commander down in public, the mission might be completed, but how would I survive afterward? Li Chuan stared at me for several seconds before finally lowering his stance. You brat. He walked in front of me, his gaze sharp. That fighting style of yours was completely messy, relying purely on strength to force your way through. Who taught you? I immediately puffed out my chest. Report, company commander. No one taught me. I've fought people like this since I was young. Relying on my strength, I never lost. After meeting you today, I finally understand what a real expert is. The corner of Li Chuan's eye twitched. Stop flattering me. I'm telling the truth. My face was serious. I fought for so long, but your steps never became chaotic. Too strong. Li Chuan stared at me, clearly still suspicious. Just now, several times, he thought he had seized my openings. But every time, his counterattack was pressed back in advance by me. This kind of thing could be coincidence once, but 10 times? However, in the end, he still did not question further, because my identity was right there. A recruit who had just enlisted. No teacher, no systematic training. Apart from talent and instinct, he could not find another explanation. Li Chuan raised his hand and heavily patted my shoulder. Your foundation is extremely good, especially your strength. That's your advantage. After you go back, have your squad leader teach you combat systematically. As long as you make up for your technique, you will definitely become a good fighter in the future. I stood at attention and replied, "Thank you, company commander. I'll definitely study hard." Good. Wang Shuebing was the first to jump out and clap desperately. Immediately afterward, the entire recruit formation exploded. The applause was like thunder. Although I had verbally admitted defeat, everyone could see that for most of the match just now, I had been the one suppressing Li Chuan. A recruit had forced the company commander into only being able to defend. That was already ruthless enough. Zhang Lei stood outside the crowd, his face alternating between green and white. He glared at me. That look clearly said, "Kid, just you wait." I grinned at him. Zhang Lei's face darkened even more. After training continued, Li Chuan left with Chen Yang. Later, Chen Yang personally told me that when they returned to company headquarters, they specifically talked about me. At the time, Chen Yang had only one thought. This recruit had too many thorns. He had to be suppressed. He had to be polished down hard. Company commander, this kid dared challenge you today. Once he joins the company later, won't he go straight to heaven? I think we need to deal with him a few times, otherwise he'll be impossible to manage. Li Chuan, however, stopped walking. Impossible to manage? I think he understands boundaries better than anyone. Chen Yang didn't react for a moment. He dared challenge you in public, and that counts as understanding boundaries? Then let me ask you, why did he suddenly admit defeat? His stamina couldn't hold up. He was afraid of being counterattacked by you, so he stopped while he was ahead. Wrong. Li Chuan answered very decisively. He wasn't afraid of losing face. He was afraid I would lose face. Chen Yang froze on the spot. Li Chuan continued. When that kid pulled back, although his breathing was somewhat disordered, his stamina was far from reaching its limit. He could still fight, and my defense was about to be broken through by him. He saw it, so he voluntarily admitted defeat and left me a way down. Bold and willing to fight. Clear-headed and knows when to stop. Isn't this exactly the kind of soldier our reconnaissance company wants? Chen Yang fell silent. Li Chuan smiled. This Su Ming, reconnaissance 7th company wants him for sure. Train him well. Maybe he really can become the strongest reconnaissance soldier in Border Defense 5th Regiment. At the time, I knew nothing about this matter. All I knew was that once daytime training ended, Zhang Lei kept me behind alone. Su Ming, step out. Yes. I had just walked out when the others in 3rd Squad also gathered around. Squad leader, we want to train too. Right, teach us combat. Only running is too boring. Give us something real. Zhang Lei looked at everyone, his expression extremely satisfied. Fine. Today, I'll let you witness what real military combat is. Everyone immediately stood properly. Zhang Lei walked to the front of the formation and opened his stance. Listen clearly. Military combat isn't fancy moves. It's just 3 words. Fast, accurate, ruthless. When you truly encounter an enemy, no one gives you a chance to perform. What you need to do is use the shortest possible time to take the opponent down. After saying that, he directly demonstrated a set of military boxing, followed by several grappling moves. His punches were crisp. His turns were clean. Arm lock, elbow strike, leg hook. Everything was completed in one flow. Wang Shuebing's eyes shone as he watched, and he immediately raised his hand. Squad leader, I have a question. Speak. When we really fight, do we also have to follow each move exactly one by one? Zhang Lei laughed. Of course not. We train these in peacetime so the body remembers the movements. When you truly encounter danger, you won't have time to think at all. Your body must move first. He pointed at me. Take Su Ming's match with the company commander during the day, for example. Was his strength strong enough? Strong. Everyone shouted in unison. But why couldn't he win? No one answered. Zhang Lei's voice sank. Because he has no technique. He relies entirely on brute force. His attacks look fierce, but in reality, they were all predicted by the company commander. If he hadn't admitted defeat quickly, once his stamina was exhausted, the company commander would have been able to take him down with one move. I stood to the side and said nothing. Fine. Everything you said is right. Someone immediately stirred things up. Squad leader, words alone are useless. Fight deputy squad leader once, and let us see how technique defeats brute force. Right, fight once. Squad leaders show us. Zhang Lei had clearly been waiting for that sentence. He looked at me, the corner of his mouth lifting. Su Ming, dare to? I stepped out of the formation. Squad leader, are you sure? What, scared? No. I looked at him seriously. I'm afraid I won't control my strength well. Laughter immediately sounded around us. Zhang Lei laughed too. You really think you're an expert now? The company commander could block you during the day, and I can too. Cut the nonsense. Bring out all your ability. I confirmed once more, really not holding back. Don't hold back. Zhang Lei opened his combat stance, both arms guarding in front of his body. Let me see exactly where your limit is. Fine. I lowered my body. Squad leader, you said it yourself. Zhang Lei beckoned to me. Come. Before the end of his final word had landed, I had already rushed out. One step. Push off. Twist the waist. Kick. Zhang Lei's reaction wasn't slow. His arms instantly crossed, steadily guarding his chest. The movement was very standard. Unfortunately, it was useless. Bang. My leg landed solidly on both of his arms. The next second, Zhang Lei's feet directly left the ground. His entire body flew sideways like he had been hit by a car. 3 meters. 4 meters. Finally, he crashed heavily into the sand. The whole field instantly fell deathly silent. Wang Xuebing's mouth hung open. The others also seemed to have been strangled by the neck, not even daring to breathe. I slowly lowered my leg. Looking at Zhang Lei lying on the ground, my heart suddenly tightened. Damn, I had already held back more than half my strength, but it still seemed too heavy. I quickly rushed over. Squad leader, are you okay? Zhang Lei lay on the ground and didn't move for a long time. After several seconds, he finally squeezed out a sentence through his teeth. Help me up. Only then did everyone react, surrounding him in a flurry. Zhang Lei didn't dare move his left arm. The moment his right foot landed, his face instantly turned pale. Don't touch it. He sucked in a breath of cold air. My foot sprained. I squatted beside him, my face full of guilt. Squad leader, I'm sorry. I really didn't expect you wouldn't be able to block it. Zhang Lei's expression became even uglier. That sentence was clearly more hurtful than the kick. I quickly added, no, that's not what I meant. Zhang Lei closed his eyes, his chest heaving violently. He clearly wanted to curse. But in front of the whole squad, he forcibly held it in and only glared at me with murderous eyes. You brat. Squad leader, you told me not to hold back. You're still talking. Zhang Lei was so angry, he almost jumped up from the ground. But his right foot hurt, and his entire face twisted. Stretcher. Hurry, find a stretcher. The group of recruits completely panicked. Someone found a wooden board, while someone else took off his jacket to pad underneath. Everyone hurriedly lifted Zhang Lei and rushed straight to the infirmary. Squad leader, hang in there. We're almost at the infirmary. Squad leader, it's all my fault. I was the one who suggested you two fight. You absolutely can't let anything happen to you. Zhang Lei lay on the wooden board, so angry that the veins on his forehead jumped. All of you shut up. I just have an aching arm and a sprained foot. I'm not dead yet. Everyone immediately fell silent. I followed beside the stretcher. Squad leader, I'm sorry. Enough. Zhang Lei gritted his teeth and looked at me. This isn't your fault. I was the one who told you to use full force, and I was the one who failed to block it. When he said this, he paused for 2 seconds, as if he were forcibly trying to convince himself. Then he squeezed out a smile uglier than crying. Good kid. With strength like yours, squad leader is happy for you. I'm proud. Hearing that made me feel even guiltier. What kind of situation was this? The one who got beaten had to turn around and comfort me. When we arrived at the infirmary, we had just rushed inside when we saw Li Chuan standing beside the medicine cabinet. Everyone immediately stood straight. Hello, company commander. Li Chuan turned around. When he saw Zhang Lei on the stretcher, his entire body visibly froze. What happened? Zhang Lei lowered his head. Report, company commander. Su Ming and I were conducting combat instruction, and I accidentally suffered a minor injury. Li Chuan looked at his left arm, then at his swollen right foot. You call this a minor injury? After the military doctor finished examining him, he quickly gave the result. Cracked bone in the left arm, severe sprain in the right ankle. The scene fell silent again. The corner of Li Chuan's mouth twitched hard several times. The way he looked at Zhang Lei made it seem as if he wanted to add another kick. However, Because all of us were present, he forcibly held it in. Zhang Lei quickly changed the subject. Company commander, why are you in the infirmary too? Are you injured? Li Chuan coughed dryly and subconsciously pulled his sleeve down. We ran out of safflower oil. I came to get a bottle. I glanced at him. He immediately glared back. What are you looking at? Nothing. I immediately looked away. During the day, although I had held back, after so many punches and kicks landed, it was impossible for him to have no marks on his body. Li Chuan clearly didn't want to admit it. I wouldn't expose him either. Someone go call your platoon leader over. Li Chuan waved his hand. Everyone else, go back and rest. You still have training tomorrow. Zhang Lei also waved. Go on. Stop crowding around. I'm fine. Everyone walked outside, looking back every few steps. I fell behind at the very end. When I reached the bedside, I blocked the other's view, took an unopened pack of Huazi from my pocket, and quickly stuffed it into Zhang Lei's right hand. Squad leader, recover well. Zhang Lei looked down and froze. When he raised his head again, the resentment in his eyes had noticeably lessened. Get lost. Right away. I had just stepped out the door when I heard Zhang Lei's suppressed gasp from inside. This hurts like hell. Immediately after, Li Chuan's voice sounded. Now you know it hurts? During the day, I was pressed so hard by him that I didn't even have a chance to counterattack, and you actually dared to take his full power kick head-on? What exactly is inside your head? Zhang Lei explained aggrievedly. Weren't you fine during the day? And in the end, he was the one who admitted defeat. I thought. What did you think? Li Chuan raised his voice in anger. He was saving face for me. If he hadn't stopped, I'd be lying right next to you today. Outside the door, several recruits stopped at the same time. Everyone looked at me in unison. I raised my hand and urged them. What are you looking at? Move. Wang Shuebing swallowed. Deputy squad leader, so you didn't use full strength during the day either? Stop asking around. You really didn't? Ask again, and tomorrow's training doubles. He immediately shut up. Before long, Qinyang arrived at the infirmary. When he heard that Zhang Lei had been kicked by me hard enough to crack a bone, he stood in front of the hospital bed for a long time without saying a word. In the end, he pointed at Zhang Lei, his hand trembling. What do you want me to say about you? A dignified reconnaissance company squad leader sparred with a recruit and got sent to the infirmary with one kick. If this gets out, how are you going to face people? Zhang Lei turned his face to the side. Platoon leader, I didn't want this either. Then what about third squad? You'll need to rest for at least a week or two. Who's going to lead training? Zhang Lei was silent for a few seconds, then said quietly, let Su Ming lead for now. Qinyang thought he had heard wrong. Who did you say? Su Ming. He beat you into the infirmary, and you still want him to temporarily lead your squad. He's capable enough, and the squad accepts him. Zhang Lei was very direct. Usually, during training, he was already the one leading a lot of the time. Right now, other than him, no one in third squad can keep them under control. Qinyang stared at him. Then he lowered his head and looked at his splint. That look clearly suggested he suspected Zhang Lei might have damaged his brain too. But after thinking for a long time, he still sighed. Fine. Let Su Ming act in your place for now. I'll be watching. Early the next morning, as soon as I arrived at the training ground, Qinyang stood in front of the formation and announced, Squad leader Zhang Lei is injured and will be resting. For the next few days, third squad's training will temporarily be led by Su Ming. As soon as the news came out, the entire field exploded with a boom. The members of third squad had no objections. Instead, one was more excited than the next. The recruits from the other squads, however, all looked at me. Some admired me. Some envied me. Some had evasive eyes, afraid I might suddenly ask them to spar. I soon found out why. In one night, rumors had spread throughout the entire recruit company. At first, it was still. Su Ming sparred with squad leader and kicked him into the infirmary. After being passed around a few times, it became, Su Ming kicked Zhang Lei 7 or 8 meters away, and squad leader coughed blood on the spot. Later, it became even more ridiculous. Zhang Lei's arm broke, 3 ribs fractured, and he was sent to the military region hospital overnight. The most exaggerated version was, to steal the squad leader position, Su Ming nearly beat Zhang Lei to death. After hearing it, my face darkened. Wang Shuebing was still holding back laughter beside me. I looked at him. Is it funny? He immediately stiffened his face. Not funny. Gather third squad. Yes. Wang Shuebing turned around and shouted, "Third squad, fall in. Deputy squad leader is about to deal with people. Move faster." I kicked him in the backside. "Stop talking nonsense." He clutched his butt and rushed into the formation. In the end, the squad leaders of each squad specially held squad meetings before the matter was clarified. But after the truth spread, the way everyone looked at me became even more fervent. After all, the rumors were fake. But the fact that I had kicked Zhang Lei hard enough to crack a bone was real. During the day, I had suppressed the company commander. At night, I had sent the squad leader to the infirmary. After 2 battles, I had become completely famous. The fiercest man in the recruit company. No one doubted it anymore. And I stood in front of third squad's formation and said only one sentence. "Stop watching the excitement. Training begins. Whoever dares slack off, I'll personally spar with him." Everyone instantly stood ramrod straight. Their movements were even more standard than when Zhang Lei was present. After squad leader Zhang Lei was injured, platoon leader Chen Yang directly handed third squad over to me. "Su Ming, starting today, you'll act as squad leader." Yes. I didn't waste words. I accepted the task and got to work. Training continued as usual. Standards did not drop. No one should even think about slacking off while the squad leader was absent. Everyone fall in. As soon as the whistle sounded, everyone in third squad quickly formed up. I swept my gaze over them and directly gave the order. Military posture. 1 hour. A wave of suppressed gasps immediately sounded from the formation. Wang Shuebing looked at me with a bitter face. "Brother Ming, didn't we just stand yesterday?" "You ate yesterday. Are you eating today?" "Yes." "Then stand." He immediately shut up. I walked into the formation and corrected their movements one by one. "Clamp your legs together. Straighten your waist. Eyes forward. Don't stare at me. There aren't flowers on my face. And you, stop shaking your shoulders. Shake again, and I'll add 10 minutes." No one dared move anymore. Platoon leader Chen Yang came almost every day. He said he was looking after third squad, but in reality, I knew he was watching whether I could really keep these recruits under control. After a few days, the way he looked at me became increasingly strange. During training, I was strict. If movements weren't up to standard, do them again. If reactions to commands were slow, do them again. If someone fell behind, the whole squad would run another lap with him. But as soon as the rest whistle blew, I would immediately hand over water and sit down to chat with them for a few sentences. "Deputy squad leader, training like this, aren't you afraid you'll train us until we're crippled?" "What's there to be afraid of?" I unscrewed my canteen and took a drink. "If you're really crippled, I'll carry you to the infirmary." "What if we're not crippled?" "Then keep training." Everyone immediately groaned. I glared. "Any objections?" "No." Everyone answered faster than anyone else. Third squad's training efficiency was actually even higher than when Zhang Lei was present. Orders were obeyed immediately. Morale also rose day by day. Only later did I find out that during those days, Chen Yang had once had a rather dangerous thought. Whether the official squad leader Zhang Lei was there or not didn't seem to make much difference. If Zhang Lei heard that, he would probably jump straight out of his hospital bed. In fact, even while lying in the infirmary, he wasn't idle. When someone went to visit him, his first question wasn't about how third squad's training was going, but about me. "That kid Su Ming didn't tear third squad apart, did he?" "No." "That's good. They're even more coordinated than when you led them." "What?" It was said that Zhang Lei sat up on the spot, pulled at his injury, and his face went pale from pain. His mouth unleashed a full barrage of curses. His sense of crisis exploded. If this continued, he might become the first veteran squad leader in Border Defense 5th Regiment to be replaced by the recruit deputy squad leader he had personally trained during recruit training. That wouldn't merely be embarrassing. That would be something Reconnaissance 7th Company could laugh about for years. Time passed quickly. In the blink of an eye, the first week of recruit company training ended. On Saturday night, the dormitory completely erupted. Tomorrow was rest day. Since entering the camp, it would be the first day without standing military posture, without practicing goose step, and without sprinting all over the field to the sound of whistles. Everyone was so excited they couldn't sleep. A soldier from the northeast rolled over and sat up. "Brothers, what's the plan for tomorrow? We can't just lie down all day, right?" Someone beside him immediately refuted. "Why not? Tomorrow, I'm sleeping. Whoever wakes me up, I'll fight him." "Can you even sleep?" I'll force myself to sleep with my eyes closed. A comrade from the south curled his lip. Outside this place, there's just grass, yaks, and snowy mountains. Are we supposed to organize a group trip to watch yaks? Might as well play cards. We don't even have cards. What are you going to play with? With that one sentence, the whole dormitory went quiet. The next second, everyone looked at me in unison. Wang Xuebing was the first to speak. Brother Ming, why don't you make a decision? Right, deputy squad leader, organize an activity. We'll all listen to you. I leaned against the headboard and laughed. Rest day is for you to relax on your own. If you want to sleep, sleep. If you want to chat, chat. As long as you don't violate discipline, I won't interfere. As soon as I finished speaking, the dormitory door was pushed open. Chen Yang stood at the doorway. Su Ming. I immediately stood up. Here, come out. I need to talk to you. Yes. I followed him into the corridor. As soon as I stood steady, I asked, Platoon leader, what mission? Don't be so tense. Chen Yang patted my shoulder. Just a casual chat. I looked at him, took a cigarette box from my pocket, flicked one out, and handed it over. Then have one. Chen Yang took the cigarette. After seeing the brand, he smiled. Huazi again. How many did you bring, kid? My old man's money. It'd be a waste not to spend it. I lit it for him, then lit one for myself too. Chen Yang took a drag, and the smile on his face slowly disappeared. Let's talk business. Go ahead. What plans do you have for the future? I froze. The future? Your military career. He stared at me. Are you only going to serve 2 years as a conscript, or are you preparing to stay long-term? Do you want to go the NCO route, or do you want promotion to officer? Holding the cigarette between my fingers, I couldn't help laughing. Platoon leader, I haven't even been granted the rank of private yet. Isn't it too early to think about this now? It's early for others. Not for you. He answered very decisively. These days, I've been watching you. Your military quality is outstanding. You learn quickly, your mind is flexible, and you have a way of leading soldiers. More importantly, you're willing to shoulder matters for your comrades. You can not only charge forward yourself, but also lead 3rd Squad forward together. He glanced in the direction of the dormitory. Right now, those kids in 3rd Squad accept you. That is rarer than simply being able to fight. I raised my brows. Platoon leader, if you keep praising me, I really will float away. Stop fooling around with me. Chen Yang glared at me. I've read your file. High school education, right? Right. If you continue normally, after 2 years as a conscript, you can strive to transfer to an NCO. But if you want promotion to officer, the difficulty is much greater. Earning merit, obtaining recommendations, taking examinations, none of those stages are easy. He paused, his tone growing heavier. So I suggest you prepare in advance. After recruit company ends, once you complete training and missions, pick up your high school academics again. Strive to test into a military academy. Your physical quality is enough, and your brain is useful too. As long as you're willing to work hard, this path suits you best. I didn't interrupt. He was truly considering my future. He wasn't saying polite words, nor was he casually drawing me an empty pie. Seeing me silent, Chen Yang continued. Of course, if you only want to serve 2 years, experience military life, and leave, then pretend I didn't say anything. But if you really choose that, he raised his hand and pointed at me, so angry he cursed directly, his tone full of disappointment towards someone failing to live up to expectations. Then all your ability will have been wasted. I pinched out the cigarette and stood straight. Platoon leader. Thank you. I looked at him and said word by word. I'll remember these words. Since I've chosen the path of being a soldier, I won't turn back halfway. As for how I'll walk it, I smiled. I'll choose the hardest path. Chen Yang stared at me. How hard? I did not avoid his gaze. Squad leader once told me, 3rd class merit is received standing, 2nd class merit is received lying down, and 1st class merit is received by the family. But I want to try. Try what? I want to stand and receive 1st class merit back in my own hands. The corridor instantly went quiet. The cigarette in Chun Yang's hand stopped in midair. If someone else had said this, he most likely would have thought that person was crazy. 1st class merit wasn't obtained by shouting slogans. That was something earned with one's life on the line. But after a few seconds, he suddenly raised his hand and heavily patted my shoulder. Good. Ambitious. He stared at me, his eyes terrifyingly bright. Su Ming, remember what you said today. I'll be waiting to see it. Yes. Early the next morning, when I opened my eyes, the sky had just brightened. I had originally wanted to sleep a little longer, but my biological clock gave me no chance. It wasn't just me. The entire third squad had woken up. Everyone lay in bed, staring at each other with wide eyes. No one wanted to get up. No one could sleep either. Before long, a few guys craving cigarettes gathered around my bed. Deputy squad leader, are you awake? I closed my eyes. No. You can talk even though you're not awake? Talking in my sleep. Several of them exchanged glances and continued smiling apologetically. Deputy squad leader, reward us with a cigarette? Just one. This week's training nearly killed me. I opened my eyes, sat up, and flicked a cigarette out of the box. Their eyes immediately went straight, but I didn't give it to them. One cigarette, one bucket of water. Their smiles instantly froze. What water? The living water the base lacks. I waved the cigarette. Take an empty bucket and run out. 10 kilometers round trip. Fill one bucket and bring it back. One cigarette for 10 kilometers. Yes. Isn't that too brutal? Too expensive? I made as if to put the cigarette back. Then don't smoke. They became anxious. No. We want it. We'll exchange. 10 kilometers it is. I handed over the cigarette. Smoke it now. No, no, no. We'll smoke it after we get back. At least you still have some brains. The three of them immediately picked up water buckets and walked out of the dormitory like they were heading to war. Before leaving, one of them looked back at me. Deputy squad leader, you're really ruthless. I smiled. Cut the nonsense. If the water spills on the way back, it'll be calculated according to what's left. The corner of his mouth twitched sharply, and he turned around and ran. The recruits from other squads were all dumbfounded. What are they doing? Fetching water. Running 10 kilometers to fetch water on rest day? I heard it's for one cigarette. Are they crazy? I didn't explain. They wanted to smoke? Fine. Exchange it with training volume. It solved their craving, trained their stamina, and brought water back for the base. 3 birds with one stone. After those 3 left, the dormitory soon quieted again. Some people lay by the window in a daze. Some tossed and turned repeatedly. Others sighed. If only we had a guitar. No guitar? A harmonica would do. If that's too much, a basketball would be fine too. Dream on. Wang Shuebing chimed in. This place is dozens of kilometers from the county town, and recruits aren't allowed to go out. Even if you have money, there's nowhere to spend it. Everyone fell silent again. Soon, they looked at me once more. Their gazes practically had the words, Brother Ming. Think of something written all over them. I felt somewhat helpless. At some point, I had already become third squad's backbone. If something happened, they came to me. If nothing happened, they still came to me. But looking at these brothers with wilted heads and drooping spirits, I really didn't want their first rest day to pass by like this. Just then, the familiar voice sounded in my mind. Random mission issued. Add entertainment activities for comrades. Mission completion reward. 100 military merit points. My eyes lit up. This mission came at just the right time. I turned over and got out of bed. Stop wilting. Everyone sat up in unison. Deputy squad leader, you have a way? I'll go find the platoon leader. Can you get something? No guarantee. I grabbed my jacket. But I can try. The dormitory instantly erupted with cheers. Someone was so excited his voice cracked, and another opened his arms as if he wanted to pounce over. I blocked him with one foot. Stay away from me. Brother Ming, I love you so much. Get lost. I pushed the door open and headed straight for the platoon office. When I saw Qin Yang, I directly explained my purpose. Platoon leader, I want to go to the county town. No. He refused very quickly. Recruits cannot go out privately. I'm not going privately. Isn't this me asking for permission? Stop playing word games with me. Qin Yang looked at me. The county town is dozens of kilometers away, and there's no vehicle today. How are you going? By bicycle. Where will you get a bicycle? Squad leader Luo from the cooking squad has a flying pigeon roadster. Qin Yang laughed. Don't even think about it. That bicycle was a token of love from his wife. Usually, even he can't bear to ride it. If others try to borrow it, he won't even let them touch the handlebars. He'll lend it to me. My answer was very certain. Qin Yang froze. You even handled old Luo? What do you mean handled? This is called having a good relationship. You brat. Qin Yang seemed like he wanted to scold me, but in the end, he couldn't help laughing. But the next second, He put on a stern face again. Even if you can borrow the bicycle, you still can't go out alone. When recruits go out on weekends, they must be led by a cadre of squad leader level or above. Regulations are regulations. I immediately took one step forward. Platoon leader, just this once. No. I guarantee I'll be back before dark. No. I absolutely won't cause trouble, absolutely won't violate discipline, and I'll pay attention to safety on the road. No. I'm buying things for 3rd Squad. I'm not going out to play. You? Shinyang was so annoyed by my pestering that his head hurt. He raised his hand and pointed at me, unable to speak for a long time. I stood at attention. Platoon leader, 3rd Squad's first rest day can't just be everyone lying in bed counting ceiling beams, right? Training must be handled. Morale also has to be raised. Let me go. Shinyang stared at me for a long time before finally sighing. Only this once. I immediately saluted. Yes. I'm not finished. Go ahead. You must return before dark. Pay attention to safety on the road. Not one thing can be missing. I guarantee completion of the mission. I turned and ran. Shinyang's voice came from behind. Su Ming. Here. If you dare get into trouble, I'll make you run around the base until next week. Understood. After getting permission, I headed straight for the cooking squad. Squad leader Luo was cleaning up cooking utensils. I walked over and got straight to the point. Squad leader Luo, lend me your bicycle. No. He didn't even raise his head. I'm going to the county town. No. To buy some entertainment items for 3rd Squad. No. And bring something back for you along the way. Squad leader Luo's movement stopped. He raised his head. Really along the way? Of course. Then bring me 2 packs of tea and some needle and thread. He took out money and handed it to me, then casually pointed to the flying pigeon roadster by the wall. The bike's over there. Ride slowly. Don't wreck it for me. I took the money and grinned. Didn't you just say you wouldn't lend it? Squad leader Luo glared. Are you riding or not? Riding. I pushed the bicycle away at once. His reminder soon sounded from behind. The road's bad. Don't show off. Got it. When I rode the bike out of the camp area, everyone in 3rd Squad was squeezed at the windows. Wang Shuebing shouted at the top of his lungs, Brother Ming, basketball. I remember. And buy a deck of cards. Depends if the money's enough. Buy some snacks. Keep dreaming. I pressed down hard on the pedal and rode onto the road. Dozens of kilometers wasn't close. The plateau wind smashed into my face, making it sting. I was too lazy to look at the scenery and lowered my head to hurry along. More than 2 hours later, I finally entered the county town. The place wasn't big. I searched street by street. Guitar, none. Harmonica, yes. Basketball, also yes. I also bought a deck of cards and some local snacks, and finally bought tea and needle and thread for squad leader Luo. After tying everything onto the rear rack, I checked the time. Still early. Returning to the base before noon shouldn't be a problem. I got on the bike and immediately rushed back. But halfway through, an urgent shout suddenly came from the right side. I squeezed the brake and turned to look. A Tibetan nanny was waving hard at me. She was speaking Tibetan, her expression extremely anxious. I couldn't understand, but I could tell she was asking for help. I stopped the bicycle. Auntie, do you need help? She quickly ran over, speaking and gesturing at the same time. I only understood a few broken Mandarin words. Cow. Pit. Save. I immediately understood. A yak fell into a pit. The auntie nodded repeatedly and pulled me toward the grassland. I pushed the bicycle and followed. Before long, we arrived at a pasture. A young Tibetan girl was herding animals there. When she saw me, she was first wary. Then after hearing the auntie say a few words, her gaze immediately landed on my uniform. The auntie pointed at me and said one sentence. Jinju mommy. The girl's eyes lit up. I took the initiative to speak. Hello, can you speak Mandarin? Yes. She quickly came to me. Are you a soldier? Yes. My name is Dawa Medic. She pointed into the distance, her tone anxious. My family's yak fell into a pit. Can you help me? Lead the way. I agreed without any hesitation. Dawa Medic looked behind me. Only you alone? Yes. The hope in her eyes immediately dimmed somewhat. That may not work. A yak is very heavy. We need at least 4 or 5 people. Let's go look first. I parked the bicycle properly. If it really doesn't work, I'll go back to base and call people. Okay. Dawa Medic immediately led the way. We soon arrived beside an earthen pit. I lowered my head and looked. Inside the pit was a half-grown yak. Its weight was at least 3 or 400 jin. When it saw Dawa Medak, it immediately let out anxious cries, its forelegs constantly struggling. "Nobu, don't be afraid." Dawa Medak lay by the edge of the pit, comforting it. She was so anxious her eyes were red. I raised it since it was little. There's no one nearby. If we delay any longer, it will get hurt. I glanced at the depth of the pit and directly jumped down. "What are you doing?" Dawa Medak was startled. The yak was also frightened and backed away, almost ramming me into the dirt wall. I raised both hands. "Don't get excited. I'm here to save you, not eat you." A soft laugh came from above the pit. Dawa Medak hurriedly reminded me. "It's called Nobu. It's very timid and won't hurt people." "All right, Nobu." I slowly approached it. "Let's discuss this. In a bit, I'm going to hold you. Don't kick around." Of course, the yak couldn't answer. It only stared at me with a pair of big eyes. I found the right position, passed both hands under its abdomen, and suddenly exerted force. Up! The yak's body swayed. It didn't leave the ground. Dawa Medak hurriedly said, "It won't work. It's too heavy. Come up first. We'll go find people. Don't rush." I readjusted my posture and planted my feet firmly. 3 or 400 jin was indeed heavy, but it still couldn't crush me. I took a deep breath, and my arms suddenly tightened. At this moment, my strength erupted completely. "Get up." I let out a low roar and suddenly straightened my body. The next second, the yak's 4 hooves left the ground. Above the pit, Dawa Medak instantly froze. Her eyes widened, and she even forgot to breathe. I had no time to care about her. The yak was still struggling, and its weight kept pressing downward. I gritted my teeth. The veins in my arms bulged one by one as I pushed step by step to the edge of the pit. "Catch it." Dawa Medak suddenly came back to her senses. "Okay." She immediately grabbed Nobu's front legs. I continued lifting from below. Once, twice. On the third time, I directly pushed this 3 or 400 jin yak out of the earthen pit. Bang! Nobu landed on the ground, staggered a few steps, and finally stood steady. Dawa Medak rushed over and hugged it. "Nobu." The yak rubbed against her shoulder, and its cries also calmed down. I braced myself against the pit wall and flipped myself back onto the ground. As soon as I stood steady, Dawa Medak raised her head and looked at me. Her eyes had completely changed. Shock, gratitude, and a kind of light I did not understand at the time. "You really lifted Nobu up by yourself?" I patted the dirt off my body. "It isn't fully grown yet. If it were an adult yak, I'd have to call people too." Dawa Medak was stunned for a few seconds, then suddenly laughed. "But it weighs over 400 jin." My movements paused. "Over 400 jin?" "Yes." She nodded seriously. I looked at my own hands, then at Nobu, who was safe and sound. No wonder it was so heavy. Dawa Medak was amused by my reaction. But very soon, she stood solemnly in front of me. "Thank you, Jinju Mommy. Nobu is very important to me. You saved it, which means you helped my entire family." I waved my hand. "It's a small matter." But she shook her head. "It is not a small matter. To me, it is a big matter." The wind blew across the pasture. She looked at me, her gaze bright and direct. And I still did not know then that what I had just lifted was not only a yak. It also made this soldier who had suddenly entered her life remain completely in her heart. "Comrade soldier, thank you so much." Dawa Medak pressed her hands together, her eyes bright and red. "If not for you, Nobu definitely couldn't have been saved. I really don't know how to repay you." "Don't say that." I steadied the bicycle. "Protecting the people is a soldier's responsibility." Ding. Congratulations to the host for achieving the Protecting the People's Property achievement. Reward: 300 military merit points. As the system voice fell, 300 military merit points arrived. Comfortable. This trip hadn't been in vain. "Come to my home for a meal." Dawa Medak chased after me. "My father and mother want to thank you too." "Really no need. I have to return to my unit." I had just stepped onto the flying pigeon when she called out again. "Wait." I turned back. She lowered her head, her cheeks slightly red. "Can you tell me your name?" I looked at her and smiled. "My name is Soldier." After saying that, I stepped on the pedal and left directly. "I will definitely find you." Her voice chased me from behind. I didn't look back. I only raised my hand and waved. When I returned to the recruit training base, I didn't hurry to report back from leave. First, I carried a bucket of water to the cooking squad. This flying pigeon roadster was squad leader Luo's treasure. It was a token of love from his wife, and usually even the platoon leader couldn't borrow it. The fact that he could lend it to me today was already a huge favor. I rinsed the mud off the wheels and wiped the frame until it shone before pushing it into the cooking squad. Squad leader Luo, returning the bike. Squad leader Luo circled the bicycle once and reached out to touch the seat. No dents. It's even cleaner than when you lent it to me. You brats sure know how to talk. I put a bag of county town snacks on the table. Brought it for you on the way. Try some. Take it away. I'm not falling for your tricks. His mouth refused, but his hand had already pressed down on the bag. I smiled and turned around. If you don't want it, throw it away. Come back. I didn't even turn my head and quickly slipped away. Squad leader Luo's laughing curses came from behind me soon after. He cursed with great momentum, but there was only one purpose: to let me know that if I needed anything in the future, I could just ask. Next, I went to find platoon leader Chen Yang to report back from leave. Report. Come in. Chen Yang swept his gaze over me. So you still know to come back? I placed another bag of snacks on his desk. Platoon leader, county town specialty. At least you've got some conscience. He immediately opened the bag and looked at what was in my hands. What else did you buy? A harmonica and a basketball. The harmonica is good. You can play it during breaks. He picked up the basketball and bounced it twice, then frowned. But we don't even have a basketball court here. Why did you buy this thing? If there isn't one, we'll build one. Build. I pointed toward the rear training ground. There's an open space over there. Dig 2 holes, set up 2 pairs of hoops, then draw a few lines. A simple basketball court is done. Chen Yang stared at me for several seconds, then suddenly slapped the table. Fine. You really approve? You proposed the idea, so you're responsible for it. I'll coordinate materials and tools. He raised his hand and pointed at me. But let me make this clear up front. Either don't do it, or if you do, make it look good. If you handle it well, I'll credit you for it. I stood at attention and saluted. I guarantee completion of the mission. I carried the items back to 3rd Squad. As soon as I entered the door, a group of people surrounded me. Deputy Squad Leader is back. Brother Ming, was the county town fun? Where are the things? What did you bring back? Move aside. I slammed the basketball onto the ground. Bang. Everyone's eyes lit up. Basketball. We don't have a court though. We don't have one now. We'll have one this afternoon. Once I explained the plan, 3rd Squad instantly exploded. Build a basketball court. We're building it ourselves? Let's do it. Brother Ming, whatever you say, we'll do. I raised my hand and pressed down their voices. After lunch, the whole squad gathers at the rear training ground. Whoever dares slack off won't touch the ball tonight. Yes. As soon as lunch ended, I carried the basketball and rushed out of the dormitory. Everyone, bring tools. Gather at the rear training ground. Move. The dozen or so people from 3rd Squad grabbed shovels, hose, and ropes, following me straight to the rear training ground. The people from the other squads all looked dumbfounded. What's 3rd Squad doing? Don't tell me they're training extra again? Training on rest day too? Are these people crazy? I didn't explain. When we reached the open ground, I directly divided the work. Xu Weibing, Li Chao, dig the hole on the left. Lu Yang, Xiao Li, the right side. You 4 make the backboards. The rest clear the ground and pull lines to mark positions. Deputy Squad Leader, what about you? I snatched a shovel and drove it into the ground. I'll dig the hardest spot. Work. Shovels flew, and dust scattered everywhere. Some dug holes, some sawed wooden boards, and some carried poles. One person's hand was rubbed raw, but he wrapped it with cloth and continued working. Another sat on the ground, tired and panting. I kicked the dirt next to him. That's it. You can't go on. He immediately climbed up. Who says I can't? Continue. When materials weren't enough, I went to Squad Leader Luo. Borrow wooden boards? Yes. Move them yourself. Right away. When we lacked wire, I went to Chen Yang. He threw me a bundle of wire. Remember, if this isn't done well, I'll deal with you. And if it's done well, stop bargaining with me. Get back to work. 2 hours later, the final boundary line was drawn. I tossed the basketball toward everyone. It's done. Game on. Everyone rushed forward in a swarm. The first shot entered the basket, and all of 3rd Squad roared. Good shot. Pass to me. Get out of the way, this ball is mine. Some people fought over the basketball, while others sat by the side of the court and played the harmonica. The tune wasn't very familiar and came out broken and intermittent, but it still drew all the people from the other squads over. Third squad really built it. The backboard actually looks pretty decent. Their deputy squad leader specially asked for leave to go to the county town and buy the basketball. That's too awesome. Why didn't I get assigned to third squad? Someone turned to look at his own squad leader. Squad leader, why don't we also? If you dare finish that sentence, you'll train extra tonight. That recruit immediately shut up. In the distance, several platoon leaders were also watching. Second platoon leader couldn't hold back first. Old Chun, let's discuss something. Chen Yang's face was full of vigilance. No discussion. I haven't even said anything yet. The moment you open your mouth, I know it's nothing good. Second platoon leader pointed at me. Lend Su Ming to our second platoon for a few days. Get lost. Just a few days. Not even for 1 minute. Third platoon leader immediately joined in. Then let him come to our platoon and share his training experience. That should be fine, right? Qinyang sneered. Share what? How to train, how to lead soldiers, how to unite comrades, anything. His experience is 4 words. Which 4 words? Gifted by nature. Second platoon leader's face darkened. Isn't that just nonsense? You know it's nonsense and still ask? Qinyang pointed toward the basketball court, his tone full of pride. Besides, this kid has already been reserved by our 7th company. Stop getting ideas. No one can snatch him away. The 2 platoon leaders were furious, but there was nothing they could do about him. I stood on the court, caught the ball, jumped, and shot. Swish. The basketball went cleanly through the net. The members of 3rd Squad cheered again. On the recruit company's first rest day, our 3rd Squad completely stole the spotlight. But at that time, I didn't know that early the next morning, Dawa Medic really came to look for me. Later, when Company Commander Li Chuan told me the whole story, only then did I know that in order to find me, she had barely slept all night. At dawn, she rode a horse to the Border Defense Regiment headquarters. On the horse's back hung beef and mutton she had personally prepared. The sentry stopped her. Comrade, who are you looking for? I am looking for a soldier. Name? I don't know. The sentry froze. Which company? I don't know that either. Then what do you know? Dawa Medic held the food box tightly. He helped me yesterday. He was very tall, very strong, and riding a bicycle. He said his name was Soldier. The 2 sentries looked at each other. That range was really too broad. Comrade, we need to conduct a routine inspection. All right, I'll cooperate. After the inspection ended, the sentry immediately contacted regimental headquarters. Before long, a captain arrived. Comrade Dawa Medic, come inside with me first. Tell me everything from the beginning. She fully explained what had happened yesterday. After listening, the captain made a decision on the spot. Doing good deeds without leaving a name. Excellent. Don't worry, we'll help you find him. Calls immediately went out to each company. Who took leave and went to the county town yesterday? Did anyone help herdsmen on the road? Soon, the results were gathered. A total of 5 soldiers had gone out yesterday. Only 2 had gone to the county town. But both of them said they had not helped any herdsmen. The captain called them over and had Dawa Medic identify them. She only looked once before shaking her head. It isn't them. Are you sure? I'm sure. The captain frowned tightly. Could he have not been one of our regiment's soldiers? Impossible. He personally said he was a soldier. Then think again. What other features did he have? Dawa Medic answered without hesitation. Around 1 meter 80, somewhat slim, and his smile was very warm. What else? Extremely strong. How strong? He lifted Nobu with both hands. Who is Nobu? My family's yak calf. Over 400 gene. The office instantly went quiet. The captain stared at her, as if suspecting he had heard wrong. Over 400 gene. Yes. Lifted it with both hands. Yes. The captain took a deep breath. Comrade Dawa Medic, finding someone requires accurate information. You cannot exaggerate. I'm not exaggerating. She became anxious at once, clenching the hem of her clothes. Her cheeks flushed. I raised Nobu myself. We weighed it not long ago. It really is over 400 gene. He really lifted Nobu up. The captain was completely troubled. A recruit capable of lifting a 400 gene yak logically couldn't be unknown. But in the entire Border Defense 5th Regiment, who had ever heard of such a person? He could only first persuade Dawa Medic to go back. Leave your address. Some companies are stationed far away, and we can't contact all of them immediately. Once we find him, we'll notify you at once. Can't you find him today? We'll do it as quickly as possible. All right. She lowered her head and walked out of the compound. The beef and mutton in the food box were still warm, but she hadn't found the person she wanted to thank. When she reached the gate, she finally couldn't help crying. Just then, a military off-road vehicle drove over. The colonel sitting in the back seat saw her and immediately spoke. Stop. The vehicle stopped. The colonel walked up to her. Little girl, who bullied you? No one bullied me. Then why are you crying? I came to find someone, but they can't find him. The colonel smiled. Inside this compound, is there someone even I can't find? Dawa Medic raised her head. Can you really help me? As long as he's a soldier of our regiment, I can. She immediately told the story again. When he heard over 400 gene yak, the colonel also laughed. Little girl, are you sure you didn't exaggerate him into a strongman because you like that boy? I didn't exaggerate. Dawa Medic was so anxious her eyes turned red again. Nobu really weighs over 400 gene. All right. I believe you. The colonel pointed at his own shoulder boards. What rank was that soldier wearing on his shoulders? Dawa Medic carefully recalled, then shook her head. Nothing. The smile on the colonel's face faded somewhat. Then there are only two possibilities. Either he is not a soldier, or he is a recruit who hasn't been awarded rank yet. Company Commander Li Chuan, who was standing nearby, suddenly narrowed his eyes when he heard this. Regimental commander, I may know who she's looking for. The colonel turned his head. Who? Su Ming from the recruit training base. Dawa Medic immediately asked, is he very tall? About 1 meter 80. Very slim. Looks somewhat slim. Very strong. The corner of Li Chuan's mouth twitched. Not ordinarily strong. The colonel became interested. You've witnessed it. I've sparred with him. Li Chuan rubbed his nose. His squad leader also sparred with him and was kicked hard enough by him to crack a bone. The colonel's eyes instantly changed. A recruit kicked his squad leader until his bone cracked. Yes. Why didn't you report such a fierce soldier? Li Chuan laughed dryly twice. I was planning to. Stop making excuses. The colonel directly exposed him. You were trying to hide him and snatch him into 7th Company after recruit training ends, weren't you? Li Chuan stopped speaking. A silent admission. The colonel snorted coldly, then looked at Dawa Medic. The features basically match. His name is Su Ming? Yes. Dawa Medic softly repeated my name once, and her eyes lit up again. Su Ming. Li Chuan. Here. Take her to the recruit training base to identify him. Yes. If it really is Su Ming, notify me. The colonel's tone carried excitement. I want to personally see what kind of recruit can lift a yak weighing over 400 gene. Dawa Medic's horse was left at regimental headquarters to be cared for. Holding the food box, she got into the off-road vehicle and rushed all the way to the training base. And at that time, I was still leading training on the field. I had only shouted half of a command when a military vehicle suddenly stopped at the edge of the field. The vehicle door opened. Li Chuan jumped down first. Immediately after, a familiar figure holding a food box got out. When I saw her face clearly, my entire body instantly stiffened. Dawa Medic saw me too. Her eyes lit up, and she directly ran toward me. I found you. The entire training ground instantly went quiet. Dozens of pairs of eyes landed on me in unison. Immediately afterward, no one knew who shouted at the top of his lungs. Su Ming. The girl chased you all the way to the army. The entire field exploded with a boom. This is called a tofu block. Reporting to squad leader, I. Refold. The second bed was barely square, but had no edges. Zhang Lei reached out and pulled. The entire blanket scattered. Refold.